Chapter 2432. Zhao Baoshan snorted, "What's the use of saying that the capital is good? You're already back, so why aren't you looking at the bright side? You're really stubborn to get involved in this matter." Hu Chunhua angrily turned around and entered her room. She was too lazy to talk about this sad matter. She originally wanted Zhao Baoshan to comfort her, but in the end, she ended up eating a bellyful of anger from Zhao Baoshan. The news of Hu Chunhua and the other two returning to the village spread throughout the village. Many of the villagers gathered together to chat and laugh. Without a doubt, it was because Zhao Tianlong didn't agree to let them live there. Shen Pan waited at home for a long time, but Zhao Tianlong didn't come back to take her to the capital. Her heart couldn't help but turn cold. Men are so heartless. All the sweet words from before were fake. Once you have a new love, you forget your old one. You only see the smile of the new one, how can you hear the old one crying? After marrying Princess Miao Yin, he had completely forgotten about her, his first wife. She was really blind to have fallen in love with this man. Shen Pan saw through Zhao Tianlong's true colors and didn't have any more fantasies about Zhao Tianlong. Instead, she brought Zhao Yangyang back to her family. Since Zhao Tianlong was so heartless, then he can forget about having a son. In any case, he didn't care and could have another child with Princess Miao Yin. However, to Shen Pan, Zhao Yangyang was her only support. He was the most precious thing she had left. Old Zhao's family had experienced many things during this period of time, while Zhao Yun's family had a relatively dull life. The previous preparations were also proceeding according to plan. The tea trees on the mountain were planted well and the pigsty was also built. Zhao Yun had her aunt and uncle come over to take care of it and began to raise the piglets. At first, they didn't invest in raising many piglets, only 30 of them. Because they were still in the exploration stage, there were many things that they weren't good at. Once her aunt and uncle had familiarized themselves with it, they would raise more piglets. One couldn't become fat in one bite. Some things had to be done slowly and couldn't be rushed. However, her aunt and uncle did their best to raise the piglets. Both of them were honest people and couldn't be lazy. They would do their best to do what they were told. In the blink of an eye, it was already late winter. The weather was getting colder. Fortunately, this year's winter was different from previous years. Because there was no shortage of money this winter, the family had bought a lot of warm blankets. In addition, they had built a big house, so it was not as leaky as the previous shabby thatched hut. There were also some heating tools. It was quite comfortable for the family to stay in the house. Basically, he did not go out during the day. The cold wind was howling outside, and if he went out for a while, he would be frozen into a popsicle. It was not as comfortable as staying in the house. Zhao Yuner also gave the children thick jackets so that they would not catch a cold. However, Liang Jinqiao's belly was getting bigger and bigger. It was difficult for him to move around, especially in winter. Zhao Yun was very worried that Liang Jinqiao would accidentally slip on the icy ground when he went out. Therefore, if she could not let Liang Jinqiao go out, she would try her best not to let Liang Jinqiao go out. One day in late winter, snowflakes suddenly floated down. This was the first time Zhao Yun saw snow in this era. White snowflakes covered the world. Especially in ancient times, after being covered with a layer of snow, it was extraordinarily beautiful. It snowed heavily for several days and nights. Fortunately, Zhao Yun dug a cellar before winter and stored vegetables. Even if they couldn't walk outside, the food prepared at home was enough. Chapter 2433. The family nestled in the house in the middle of winter, and it seemed even more cozy. After a few days of heavy snow, the snow finally stopped. The entire Shuilon village was wrapped in a layer of silver, and it was indescribably beautiful. Xiao Yun only remembered seeing such a scene when she was very young. After she went to school and worked in the city, she hadn't seen such a beautiful snow scene. Walking outside, his feet made crunching sounds as they landed on the snowy ground. However, the snow was very deep, and it reached her knees. If Dowda walked into the snow, half of his body would probably be covered in the snow. However, after being cooped up in the house for a few days, the children couldn't hold it in anymore. Children were noisy by nature, and they couldn't stay quiet for long. Xiao Yun couldn't stop them, and Zhao Tianfu directly took Dowda to roll in the snow. Xiao Yun looked at the scene and felt angry and helpless, so she simply let the two children play to their heart's content. If she stopped them, the two children would probably throw tantrums at her. Zhao Tianfu and Dowda started a snowball fight in the snow. However, Dowda was shorter, and he was at a disadvantage compared to Zhao Tianfu. "Sis, yes. Sis, come and play with us." Zhao Tianfu smiled and greeted her. Even the adults in the house couldn't help but come out of the house to join in the fun when they saw the children playing. After staying at home for so many days, the children are really bored. It's good to come out and play. Yeah. It won't be cold if they run more. They have enough clothes on, so it shouldn't be a problem. Zhao Yun picked up the shovel and smiled at the family. "Why don't we build a snowman together?" "Okay." Mu Hin and Zhao Tianan couldn't hold back and were eager to try. Zhao Yun smiled and started to build a snowman according to the method of building a snowman in her memory. Zhao Tianfu and Daodu, who were originally messing around, stopped what they were doing and began to cooperate with Zhao Yun to pile up together. It didn't take long for a snowman to appear in front of them. Coincidentally, there were carrots at home. Zhao Yun stuck the carrot in the middle of the snowman's face, revealing the shape of its nose. Then, he took out 2 pieces of black charcoal and stuck them on top to act as the eyes of the snowman. Soon, a snowman appeared in front of everyone. "Mother, snowman, snowman. He really does look like a human." Daodu clapped excitedly. Zhao Yun lovingly stroked Daodu's head. "Daodu saw Nyangqin pile it up just now. Did you learn it?" "Yes, yes." Daodu nodded heavily in response. "How about Daodu and little uncle make a few small ones?" "Okay." Daodu excitedly pulled Zhao Tianfu's hand, and the two children imitated Zhao Yun and piled up in the snow. Zhao Yun looked at Daodu's young and tender face. Through Daodu's appearance, she vaguely felt like she was looking at Mu Lianfeng. Mu Lianfeng had been gone for quite some time, and she didn't know when he would be back. Had he completed the tasks assigned to him by the imperial court? Previously, there were a lot of things that she was busy with, so she could divert her attention. Now that she had some free time, Zhao Yun wanted to know more about Mu Lianfeng's situation. Unfortunately, he was too far away and there was no way to contact him. Chapter 2434. However, there was no need to think about it. The conditions at the frontier were probably harsh. It was definitely not easy for Mu Lianfeng to stay there. Zhao Yun did not wish for anything else. The only extravagant wish in her heart was that Mu Lianfeng would be able to return safely. Seeing that Zhao Yun was in a daze, Liang Jinchao patted Zhao Yun's shoulder and asked, "Las Yun, what's wrong with you? Are you alright?" Zhao Yun pursed her lips and replied, "I'm fine. This snow has been falling for so many days. It's piled up in a thick layer. I wonder when it will melt." Liang Jinchao lamented. "Let it melt slowly. It's fine if we don't go out and stay at home. It's more convenient to go out without such thick snow. Although we have a lot of things prepared at home, it's almost the new year. It'll be better if we go to Yang City to buy some things before the new year. We don't even have things like firecrackers at home." Zhao Yun nodded. She did not expect the new year to come so quickly. She did not have the habit of keeping a calendar. It had been more than half a year since she transmigrated to this era. In fact, she had experienced a lot in the past half a year. She had experienced more than 20 years in the 21st century, but she had not seen many things that made her feel the ups and downs of life. Basically, every day was more repetitive and dull. In the 21st century, she had been a leftover woman for 20 to 30 years. She did not expect God to let her find true love in ancient times. Perhaps everything had been predestined from the start. Mother, there's no hurry. As long as the snow stops falling, the sun will melt in a few days. Don't the other people in our village need to buy these things too? It's the same for everyone. There's no need to rush. Liang Jinchao smiled and replied, yes, there's no hurry. Take it slow. Anyway, there's no rush. If it doesn't work, let your father walk to Yang City. He can't buy those things back anyway. Okay. Sure enough, after a few days, the sky cleared up quite a bit. The snow on the ground slowly melted. It was already the 20th day of the 12th lunar month. Other than their family, everyone else in the village was preparing for the new year. Qian Jue came to visit early in the morning. She reminded her that if Xiao Yuner's family went to Yang City to buy New Year's goods, they should bring her along. She also had to buy some things back. Xiao Yuner rushed Xiao Mao when the roads were open. She called for Qian Zhuzhe and rushed to Yang City. Nowadays, old Xiao's family was not as lively as before. The first branch, Hua Chunhua, Xiao Baoshan, and Xiao Xinhui had all moved to Sun City. With the money that Xiao Tianlong had given him, he had bought a rather large house in Sun City. He had even specially invited the servants over to enjoy the rest of his life there. Now, only the second branch, the fourth branch, Xiao Tianhu, and Jin Ju lived in old Zhao's courtyard. However, it was because the others had moved away that old Zhao's family could still move out a few rooms. The fourth branch's children had also grown up. They could not always squeeze in one room with their parents. It would be very inconvenient. As for the first branch's good life, the other branches were only a little envious. They did not have any other thoughts. They were all honest people who lived their lives in a down-to-earth manner. They lived their lives well and did not think too much. Xiao Mao rushed halfway and bumped into Li Chuiying and Zhao Ping. The two of them looked like they were also going to Yang City. Chapter 24:35. Li Chuiying and Zhao Ping stopped in their tracks when they heard Zhao Yuner's voice. Li Chuiying smiled and replied, Yuner, it's you. Your uncle Zhao and I are going to Yang City to buy some New Year goods. It's going to be the New Year in a few days, so we have to buy now. Otherwise, we won't be able to buy anything on New Year's Eve. Why didn't you take the ox cart? It's such a long journey, isn't it? Li Chuiying sighed. Sigh, it's not that we don't want to spend a few copper coins on the ox cart, but we didn't get to ride it. When the snow finally melted and it was the end of the year, many people in the village took the ox cart to Yang City to buy things. When your uncle Zhao and I went to take the ox cart, there were no more seats. There were many people like us who didn't get to ride it. I thought that I might not be able to get on the ox cart tomorrow, so I decided to walk to Yang City and buy the things back. It'll be a peace of mind. When she heard Li Chuiying's words, Zhao Yuner called out, Haha, you're lucky to have met me. Hurry up and get on my donkey cart. Li Chuiying and Zhao Ping didn't reject her pretentiously. Instead, they smiled and thanked her. Yuner, thank you so much. It's okay, don't be so polite with me. It's on the way anyway. The few of them drove the donkey cart together. They chatted and laughed along the way and were very happy. When they arrived at Yang City, they bought some firecrackers and other things. Zhao Yuner also bought a lot of chicken, duck, and fish. There were also melon seeds and peanuts. They could be bought to satisfy their family's cravings. It was the new year, so if there were guests, they had to prepare some food to serve them. After a while, Xiao Yuner bought almost half of the cart's worth of things. Qian Zhonghu and Li Chuiying bought fewer things, but they still bought a lot. After they were done, the few of them went back to Shuilan village. On the way, Xiao Yuner and Qin Zhonghu discussed gathering together for a New Year's Eve dinner on New Year's Eve. After all, the houses of the other branches of the family seemed too cold when they were separated for the new year. Especially Zhao Wenshui. Zhao Wenshui only brought Zhao Tianyu with him. It was too boring for the father and son to stay up for the new year together. They probably didn't even have the energy to eat. Zhao Wenshui was just a man. How could he know how to prepare those dishes? Usually, it was fine, but when it came to festivals like the New Year, everyone's atmosphere would be too gloomy. Qian Red Date also liked the lively atmosphere, so she agreed with a smile. In fact, even if Xiao Yun didn't mention it, she was also prepared to invite Zhao Wenshui to have a reunion dinner together. Zhao Wenshui and Zhao Wentao could also get together and drink a few cups. Since Xiao Yuner said so, the whole old Zhao's house would naturally be livelier. When they returned, they found that Zhao Baoshan had returned to the village. Qian Zhozha asked curiously, "Dad, it's almost the new year. Why are you back? Did you leave something behind?" Zhao Baoshan pursed his lips. "No, Dad, then what's the reason?" "I wanted to come over for the new year." "Aw." Qian Zhozha's face was full of surprise. "Dad, isn't Sun City better? Mom, big brother, and sister-in-law are all there. Why are you back alone?" At this point, Zhao Baoshan's heart was filled with emotions. Although Sun City was good, there was good food and drinks every day, there was nothing to do, and the house was brighter and more spacious than in the countryside. However, at his age, he couldn't get used to it. He always felt uncomfortable staying in the countryside. Chapter 24:36. It was almost the new year, so he was discussing with his old family and Hu Chunhua if he could come back for the new year. After all, most of old Zhao's family members were still in the village. It would be more lively when the family gathered together during the new year. However, none of them agreed with him and were unwilling to come back. They even said that he was old and loved to suffer. He had a good life, but he had to suffer. In a fit of anger, Zhao Baoshan could only come back alone and not drag the others with him. Zhao Baoshan smiled awkwardly in response to Qian Zhui's question and replied, "It's more lively at home. I want to come back and spend the new year with you." "Master, then let's spend the new year together. You can stay at my house for the next few days. You've moved all your things away and you don't have a place to stay." Zhao Yun stood up and greeted him. Zhao Baoshan looked at Zhao Yun with some gratitude. "Yun then I'll have to trouble you, it's fine." The corners of Zhao Baoshan's eyes were moist. He wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and followed Zhao Yun to the third branch. The last few days of the new year were busier, but they were all trivial matters. Soon, it was New Year's Eve. The whole family woke up early in the morning to prepare. First, they put up the couplets. The whole house was decorated in red. The couplets were all written by Zhao Yun in the past few days. Unlike in the 21st century, where couplets were basically bought, the couplets in ancient times were mostly cut out from red paper bought by the family and then written by themselves. Her handwriting was elegant and could be used as a gift. There were many rooms in the house, so it took an hour or two to put up the couplets. They busied themselves with miscellaneous tasks and made do with something to eat at noon. In the afternoon, Qian Zhui came over to help. The whole family prepared the New Year's dinner together. It had to be said that the atmosphere during the New Year in ancient times was much better than it was now. Every family was looking forward to the arrival of this day. It was very lively and the New Year's atmosphere was very lively. Unlike in the 21st century, Xiao Yun felt that the New Year's atmosphere in her previous life was getting worse year by year. Children were the happiest to celebrate the new year. Early in the morning, they got up with the adults and played together non-stop. It got dark early in the winter. Old Zhao's family followed the rules here and worshipped their ancestors. When the sky got dark, the family gathered together and started to have their New Year's Eve dinner. There were a lot of people in the third branch, including Xiao Baoshan, the second branch, and the fourth branch, as well as Xiao Tianhu and Jin Ju. The table was full, and it seemed a little crowded. However, it was precisely because there were so many people that the atmosphere was lively. The whole family gathered together and started to eat. There were many men in the house, and they drank one cup after another, drinking happily. Laughter filled the dining table. Zhao Baoshan's face was full of smiles. It was obvious that he was in a good mood. At the end of the meal, it was time for the children's most anticipated event, which was to give out the New Year's money. There were many elders in the family, so the children received more red packets. Zhao Baoshan took out many red packets from his pocket and began to distribute them. First, he gave one to Daodu. Because Daodu was the youngest and was Xiao Baoshan's great-grandson, Tian also received one. Then, he started to give out red packets from the second branch all the way to the fourth branch. The children laughed even more happily when they received the red packets. The other elders also gave out red packets one after another. Xiao Yun did not expect that Liang Jinxiao would prepare red packets for her, Xiao Tianan, and Mu Hin. Chapter 24:37. Xiao Yun asked Liang Jinxiao. She was a little embarrassed to accept it. Liang Jinxiao smiled gently. Silly child, although you and Tianan are married, in mother's eyes, you are still mother's daughter. You and Tianan are both mother's children, so mother naturally has to give you some New Year's money. Xiao Yun was touched by Liang Jinxiao's words. Perhaps in the eyes of parents, children will always be children. No matter how big the children are, they will still be worried about them. Okay, mother, then I will accept it. Good. Seeing Xiao Yun accept it, Liang Jinxiao's smile deepened. The children held the red packets and smiled happily. The adults sat at the table and chatted happily. The atmosphere seemed to be very harmonious. Such a warm scene was rare. After playing for a while, it was already late at night. However, there was still some time before midnight. The family prepared to stay up for the new year together. After midnight, they would go back to sleep for the auspicious new year. Knowing that the elders and children could not stand the cold, Xiao Yun took out the fire barrels. She added a lot of charcoal into the cooking for dinner. At this time, the fire barrels were really warm. Knowing that there were more people in the family, Xiao Yun especially ordered 2 more fire barrels. They were very big and could accommodate several people. Thus, the family huddled in the fire barrel and chatted while warming themselves. Unknowingly, time passed quickly. After midnight, Xiao Yunlong went to set off an opening cannon. Only then did the family slowly disperse and return to the house to rest. This new year was the most lively one that Xiao Yun had experienced in decades. She was in a very good mood. After New Year's Eve, the 12th lunar month was busy paying New Year's greetings and visiting relatives. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was already spring. Liang Jinxiao was about to give birth. During this period, Xiao Yun treated Liang Jinxiao with caution. She was afraid that Liang Jinxiao would accidentally hurt herself. Because Liang Jinxiao was an advanced pregnant woman, it was more dangerous for her to give birth. She had to be careful. If there was an accident, it could cause serious consequences. According to Liang Jinxiao's expected date of birth, Xiao Yun contacted a midwife early. Because it was difficult for advanced pregnant women to give birth, Xiao Yun especially found the most experienced midwife in Yang City. This midwife was in her 60s or 70s. She was quite nimble. In the entire Yang City, hundreds of thousands of people were delivered by her. Even the children of many wealthy families in Sun City were delivered by her. With her decades of experience in midwifery, she was able to handle any accidents during birth. When Liang Jinxiao was about to give birth, Xiao Pinger's due date was also around the same time. After leaving Xiao Yun's house, Xiao Ping and Qin Yuan bought a house in Yang City. Although Xiao Ping and Qin Yuan did not live a luxurious life in the restaurant in Yang City, they were definitely living a good life. They were better off than many small businessmen in Yang City. The two of them were very satisfied. They did not ask for fortune. They only wanted to live a stable and comfortable life for the rest of their lives. After Xiao Ping became good-looking, Qin Yuan's heart fell on Xiao Ping. The couple was still quite loving. People could not help but sigh. They did not expect Xiao Ping to live a happy life in the end. Chapter 2438. What? Qin Yuan rushed to Xiao Ping when he heard that. Ping, you're about to give birth. Xiao Ping nodded heavily. She gritted her teeth, and a pained expression appeared on her face. My stomach hurts so much. Husband, I think I'm about to give birth. Qin Yuan was a man, and he knew nothing about childbirth. He was very anxious at this moment. What should I do? Ping, how am I going to give birth? What should I do now? Qin Yuan had an anxious look on his face as he immediately panicked. Xiao Ping endured the pain in her stomach and grabbed Qin Yuan's hand. With some difficulty, she said to Qin Yuan, Husband, go and call for her. Mother has given birth before, so she'll definitely know. Qin Yuan patted his head and responded, Yes, yes, yes. I should call for mother. She'll definitely know. He was just too anxious. The more anxious he was, the more confused he became. He didn't know what to do. Qin Yuan held Xiao Ping's hand and said gently, Ping, bear with it for a while. I'll go and call for mother now. Qin Yuan ran into the courtyard and shouted a few times. When he heard that Xiao Ping was about to give birth, Mu Chunfang hurriedly said, Yuan, hurry and call for the midwife. Ask her to come and deliver the baby. Midwife? Mother, where should I call for the midwife? Let's go out and turn right. There's an alley a short distance ahead. The midwife lives in the second house. Go and call for her. She's the most experienced midwife in our Sun City. Mother has talked to her before. She'll deliver Ping's baby. When Qin Yuan heard this, he hurriedly responded and eagerly rushed out of the house. Unfortunately, according to Mu Chunfang, the midwife was not at home when he arrived at his in-laws' house. The high-yielding woman's eldest daughter-in-law said to the Qin Yuan, My mother-in-law was taken away by someone from Shuilan village to deliver a baby. She's not at home now. You're too late. Qin Yuan was dumbfounded. What? Is the high-yield woman not here? This husband, I'm really sorry. Why don't you look for other midwives? There are a few in Yang City. The high-producing midwife's eldest daughter-in-law replied apologetically. Usually, it was rare for two babies to bump into each other. Today was really a coincidence. There was no other way. There was only one person. He couldn't possibly split it into two halves, right? First come, first served. Since they had already been taken away, there was nothing they could do. Qin Yuan came back from the high-yielding woman's house, feeling a little discouraged. He hurriedly ran to Mu Chunfang and asked, "Mother, what should we do? The high-yielding woman is not here. She was called to deliver the baby." "What?" Mu Chunfang frowned. She didn't expect such an accident to happen. At this moment, Zhao Ping was lying on the bed, clutching her stomach as she complained, it hurts so much. Mother, husband, what should I do?" Because of the pain, Zhao Ping's forehead was covered in a thin layer of sweat. Qin Yuan's heart ached when he saw this. He held Zhao Ping's hand and said, "Ping-er, hang in there. Husband will think of something. You'll be fine." Mu Chunfang also comforted her, "Ping-er, don't worry. It's normal for your stomach to hurt when you're giving birth. Mother will ask Yuan-er to find another midwife for you. Once the midwife is here, you'll be fine." Zhao Ping-er was family Qin's flesh and blood. Naturally, Mu Chunfang valued her very much. Chapter 2439. After Qin Yuan rushed out and ran halfway, he didn't expect to run into Zhao Xinhui. Zhao Xinhui had been recuperating for a while, and her injuries had slowly healed. Now, she could get out of bed and walk around. Because it was really boring to stay at home, she went out to stroll around the streets to see if there was anything she liked or wanted to buy back. She didn't expect to see Qin Yuan's familiar voice. Ever since that incident, the two of them had never contacted each other again. Qin Yuan was disappointed in Zhao Xinhui, so he didn't want to miss Zhao Xinhui. He just wanted to live a good life with Zhao Ping-er. However, Zhao Xinhui couldn't help but miss Qin Yuan because it was too boring to be alone. Among all the men she had met, Qin Yuan was definitely the one who treated her the best. He was also the one who was the most handsome. Unconsciously, she had developed feelings for Qin Yuan. Therefore, she missed Qin Yuan from time to time. Now, she realized that she wasn't so happy after she became rich. Instead, she wanted to find a man who loved her and treated her well. Seeing Qin Yuan's familiar back, Zhao Xinhui couldn't hold back the joy and excitement in her heart. She hurriedly ran in the direction of Qin Yuan and blocked Qin Yuan's path. "Qin Yuan!" Zhao Xinhui shouted happily. She smiled at Qin Yuan. She touched her hair subconsciously and paid attention to her appearance. She was dressed well today. She was pretty and charming. Qin Yuan would definitely like her. Zhao Xinhui knew that Qin Yuan used to like her very much. Even if they were estranged because of that incident, as long as she was willing to apologize, Qin Yuan would definitely forgive her. Then, she could be with Qin Yuan again. When Qin Yuan saw Zhao Xinhui, he was slightly stunned. After that, his face turned cold and his attitude became distant. "What's the matter?" Qin Yuan asked faintly. Zhao Xinhui's heart sank. Although he was a little sad because of Qin Yuan's cold attitude towards him, he still smiled and replied, "Qin Yuan, can't I look for you if there's nothing important? I don't have time to accompany you," Qin Yuan said as he prepared to leave. Zhao Xinhui was anxious. He immediately grabbed Qin Yuan's hand and said to Qin Yuan, don't go. Do you hate me that much? I haven't even said a few words to you and you're leaving. I know that what happened before was indeed my fault. I shouldn't have pushed all the blame onto you, but Qin Yuan, you know that I'm just a woman. If I take all the responsibility, I'll be punished even more severely. Back then, I almost lost my life when I was punished like that. If this was more serious, I might really die. I wouldn't be standing in front of you now. Don't you love me very much? I believe that you're willing to take more punishment for me, right? Qin Yuan. Actually, I like you too. Don't be angry with me. Let's get along like before, okay? Qin Yuan only found Zhao Xinhui's words laughable. Even at this time, Zhao Xinhui was still the same. In their relationship, Zhao Xinhui always expected him to be the one giving. In his relationship with Zhao Ping always took the initiative to give. Between the two women, it was obvious who treated him better and who loved him more. Chapter 2440. Qin Yuan removed Zhao Xinhui's hand from his arm. He sneered at Zhao Xinhui and said, "You still want me to forgive you for what you did to me back then? Fine, I've forgiven you, but Zhao Xinhui, we can never go back to how we were before. I don't hate you, and I don't blame you. I can only say that our fate has come to an end." Zhao Xinhui looked at Qin Yuan in disbelief. She widened her eyes and asked in a trembling voice, "Qin Yuan, didn't you love me very much in the past? Have you forgotten what you said in the past? Or did you go back on your words? Why are you going back on your words so soon?" Qin Yuan chuckled and mocked himself sarcastically, "Yes. I used to like you very much in the past. But now I know that it's better to find a woman who loves me." Zhao Xinhui shook her head and refused to admit it in her heart. "Qin Yuan, I love you very much too. Let's not be like this, okay? Let's be like before. I promise I'll treat you very well and love you very much." Zhao Xinhui suddenly couldn't bear to leave Qin Yuan. Perhaps she couldn't accept that the man who had treated her so well in the past had suddenly become cold to her, so she wanted to leave him. Qin Yuan waved his hand and refused coldly, "There's no need, Zhao Xinhui. I think Pinger is quite good. I just want to spend the rest of my life with Pinger. Please don't drag me and waste my time. I'm going to find a midwife for Pinger now. Pinger and I are going to have a baby soon." Qin Yuan immediately turned and left, not giving Zhao Xinhui a chance to ask him to stay. Looking at Qin Yuan's receding figure, Zhao Xinhui knew in her heart that it was impossible for her and Qin Yuan in this life. His attitude had already shown his determination. What else could she do? Qin Yuan's departure was like losing something very important to her. If she was given another chance to choose, perhaps she would choose to cherish it. She would not have pushed all the responsibility to Qin Yuan and caused an irreparable crack in their relationship. Perhaps from now on, she would never be able to find a man who was so silly, who didn't care about anything, who treated her well and loved her wholeheartedly. Humans were like this. Most of the time, they would only know regret after losing something, and they would never cherish it when they had it. At this moment, Zhao Xinhui was extremely envious of Zhao Ping. Zhao Ping now had Qin Yuan's wholehearted support. Unfortunately, she was the one who caused all of this. If she hadn't pushed Qin Yuan away, Qin Yuan wouldn't have gone to Zhao Ping's side. There was no medicine for regret in this world. A missed opportunity was a missed opportunity. Zhao Xinhui stood on the street with a melancholy expression. When she thought about it, she couldn't help but feel very sad. She suddenly squatted on the ground and began to cry bitterly. Qin Yuan followed the address Mu Chunfang gave him and quickly found a midwife. Fortunately, this midwife was at home. She quickly followed Qin Yuan back and delivered Zhao Ping's baby. It wasn't easy for a woman to give birth. Zhao Ping was in pain in the house for half a day, but she still hadn't given birth. Qin Yuan couldn't help but feel very anxious. What if Zhao Ping had a difficult birth? He didn't want to lose Zhao Ping, nor did he want to lose his child. He just wanted his wife and child to be safe. Chapter 2441. Qin Yuan nodded, but he was still worried about Zhao Ping. Mu Chunfang patted Qin Yuan's shoulder and comforted him. "Listen to the midwife. She has experience in delivering babies. If she says it'll be fine, then it'll be fine." When I gave birth to your brother, it was difficult for me to give birth to the first child. It was easier when I gave birth to you. Don't worry, all women have to suffer when they give birth. Yuan, it's unlucky for a woman to give birth in the delivery room. You'd better go out now. Don't stay in the room. Mu Chunfang was afraid that Qin Yuan would be tainted with bad luck, so he wanted to let Qin Yuan go out first. Qin Yuan shook his head, unwilling to do so. Mom, I want to stay by Ping Er's side. Don't let me go out, okay? Ping needs me now. Seeing Zhao Pinger's face filled with pain, Qin Yuan's heart ached endlessly. Mu Chunfang sighed and did not force Qin Yuan. It was not easy for a woman to give birth. When she gave birth, she would be very happy if Qin Dahai was by her side. The midwife continued to help Zhao Ping deliver the baby. Zhao Ping was in so much pain that she grimaced. Fortunately, Qin Yuan was by her side, so she could grit her teeth and bear with it. For her and Qin Yuan's child, she had to work hard and give birth to him. This was the fruit of their love. After a few hours in the hands of the midwife, Zhao Ping finally gave birth to the child. It's out, it's out. Put in more effort. Put in more effort. Bear with it and it'll be over. Hearing the midwife's instructions, Zhao Ping took a deep breath and used the last of her strength to pull. The thing in her stomach suddenly separated from her body. Then, she heard the sound of a baby crying. The midwife hugged the baby and said with a smile, "Congratulations. It's a boy." Upon hearing that it was a boy, Mu Chunfang was extremely excited. He hurried over to the midwife and said, "Come, let me take a look at my eldest grandson." Okay. The midwife handed the child to Mu Chunfang. Looking at his grandson in his arms, Mu Chunfang's face was full of smiles. She had been looking forward to having a grandson. God was kind to her, and her wish had really come true. From now on, their family Qin would have an heir. Newborn babies were wrinkled and didn't look that good. However, from her eldest grandson's facial features, she could tell that he took after Qin Yuan. When he grows up, he will definitely be a handsome boy. Mu Chunfang could not hold back the joy in his heart. He eagerly prepared to report the good news to Qin Dahai. Qin Dahai was a man, but he was her father-in-law, so he couldn't enter the delivery room when Zhao Pinger was giving birth. He could only wait outside alone. This was the family Qin's first grandson. Qin Dahai anxiously waited outside, wanting to know what was going on in the delivery room. After hearing the child's cries, Qin Dahai became even more excited. The adults were fine, and the child was born. He just didn't know whether the child was a boy or a girl. Qin Dahai hoped to have a grandson. Everyone in the countryside wanted a grandson. Seeing that Mu Chunfang was about to carry the child out, Qin Yuan hurriedly stopped her. "Mother, why are you carrying the child out?" Mu Chunfang laughed and said, "Yuan, I'm going to carry the child out for your father to see. I'm going to let him see his eldest grandson." Qin Yuan pursed his lips and said calmly, "Mother, Pinger hasn't seen it yet. You should let Pinger see it first, then carry it out for father." Chapter 2442. Mu Chunfang patted himself on the head and replied with a chuckle, I forgot. Mother was too happy for a moment and forgot about this matter. As parents, I have to take a look at the child after he's born." As he said that, he carried the child in front of Qin Yuan and Zhao Ping. He chuckled and said to Qin Yuan and Zhao Ping, "Come, take a look at how obedient this child is. He looks so delicate and pretty. He'll definitely be as good-looking as Yuan in the future." Zhao Ping was very tired and sleepy at this moment. She wanted to sleep, but when she saw her child, she suddenly had the strength to do so. She struggled to open her eyes and took a look at her newborn son. Originally, when she heard Mu Chuanfang's words, she thought that the child would be very good-looking. Who knew that she would see a wrinkled and ugly baby? Zhao Ping was so frightened that she hurriedly said, "Why is this child so ugly? He's really too ugly. Does he take after me? Sigh. What should I do? Won't the child be laughed at when he grows up in the future?" Because of her appearance, Zhao Ping had lived for so many years and had been teased by many people, so she knew how it felt. Previously, when she was pregnant, she had been worried that the child would take after her appearance and be extremely ugly. Who knew that her worry would come true? She could not tell who this child took after, but he was indeed very ugly. Looking at this ugly baby, Zhao Ping did not want to admit that she had given birth to him. She even felt sorry for Qin Yuan for giving birth to such an ugly son. Qin Yuan also took a look at the baby and muttered, "Why is this child so ugly, wrinkled like this?" When Qin Yuan said that, Zhao Ping could not help but cry sadly. Qin Yuan realized that he had said something wrong and hurriedly comforted Zhao Ping. It's okay, Ping. Even if he's a little ugly, he's still our child. We can't despise him." Zhao Ping sobbed and said, "Big brother Yuan. I don't despise him. I'm just thinking that he's so ugly. What should I do when he grows up in the future? With his looks, would he not be able to find a wife? Will you complain about me when you become sensible in the future?" Sigh. It's all my fault for giving birth to him like this, wrinkled like an old man. Qin Yuan and Zhao Ping didn't have much experience. She saw that other people's babies were fair and tender, but her own baby was like this. Because children were ugly like that. When Mu Chunfang heard what Zhao Ping and Qin Yuan said, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He quickly explained, "What do you mean by ugly?" His facial features were obviously handsome, and he took after Yuan. Babies are always wrinkled like this when they're born. They'll be fine in a few days. After hearing Mu Chuanfang's words, Zhao Ping stopped crying. Her eyes landed on Mu Chunfang, and she asked agitatedly, "Mother, is what you said true?" "Of course it's true. Why would mother lie to you? If you don't believe me, you can ask the midwife. She has delivered many babies and is more experienced than me." Zhao Ping's gaze landed on the midwife at the side. The midwife smiled and replied, "What your mother said is true. Babies are all the same when they're born. They're all wrinkled, and only a few are fair and tender. They'll slowly recover after a few days. It's normal for you two to not have any experience as first-time parents." After hearing the midwife's words, Zhao Ping finally relaxed. Zhao Ping muttered, that's good. I thought he was born so ugly. Sigh, I was really scared to death." Chapter 2443. Zhao Ping smiled as well. "That's right. But it's normal that we don't have any experience as first-time parents. The next time we give birth to a child, we won't make such a joke." Qin Yuan held Zhao Ping's hand and said seriously, "Ping, thank you so much. You've worked hard this time and suffered so much, but you've given birth to a son for me. I'll remember this for the rest of my life." Zhao Ping shook her head. "Big brother Yuan, what nonsense are you talking about? This is our child, and it has something to do with me. I'm happy to give birth to him, and I don't think it's tough at all." Qin Yuan nodded his head vigorously and discussed with Zhao Ping happily. "Ping, I'll ask someone to send this good news to your parents later, and let them be happy too. After all, you're their biological daughter. Now that you've given them a grandson, they'll definitely be happy too." Zhao Ping thought for a while and nodded her head. Although she was no longer close to her maternal family, she still had to be on good terms with them. During this period of time, she had more or less figured it out. Humans only had a few decades to live, and there were some things that they shouldn't be too calculative about. She couldn't keep a tight relationship with her maternal family. After all, parents doted on their children the most in the world. Previously, she had done many things that made her maternal family worry. It was no wonder that they didn't like her. Now that she knew the reason behind it, she should slowly make up for it. Not to mention taking the initiative to curry favor with them, she had to do it on the surface. After Mu Chunfang took a look at the child for Zhao Ping, and Qin Yuan, he carried the child out to take a look at Qin Dahai. Yuan-er's father, that last Ping, gave birth to a grandson for us. What? Grandson? Yes. Qin Dahai clapped his hands excitedly. That's great, that's great. Come, old woman, quickly take a look at him and give me a hug. My eldest grandson. Okay. The family Qin was very happy because of the child. Qin Dahai even specially went to buy a bunch of firecrackers and set them off at the door. The crackling sounds of firecrackers celebrated their family Qin's joyous occasion. In Shuilan village, the third branch was also very busy. Liang Jinchao suddenly had a stomachache, and she was about to give birth. Xiao Yun hurriedly went to Yang City and brought the high-producing mother over. At this time, high-producing grandma, Xiao Yun, Feng Zhangxia, and Qian Hongzhao were all busy in the room of the third branch. Xiao Yunlong, Xiao Baoshan, Xiao Tianan, and a few other men were waiting outside. Although they were very anxious, they could only wait. There was no way to run to the delivery room to see what was going on. Liang Jinchao's in the delivery in the room, TSSAS Xiao Wenhua frowned and paced back and forth in front of the door. He sighed and looked very anxious. Liang Jinchao was almost 40 years old. It was very risky for a woman of her age to give birth to a child. If it weren't for Liang Jinchao's unexpected pregnancy and him not having the heart to abort the child, he would have considered Liang Jinchao's health and felt that it was better not to have a child even though he was very happy to have one at such an old age. Now that he saw Liang Jinchao struggling in the delivery room for a long time and still not giving birth, he felt very regretful. If he had known earlier, he would have insisted on not letting Liang Jinchao give birth. Now, Liang Jinchao was at risk of giving birth alone. If something happened to Liang Jinchao, what would he do? What would the family do? Xiao Wenhua didn't even dare to think about it. Chapter 2444. When Zhao Baoshan saw Xiao Wenhua's worried expression, he patted Xiao Wenhua's shoulder and comforted him. Laosi, don't be too anxious. Yun-er's mother is a little older, so it's naturally not as easy as a younger woman's. However, with an experienced midwife, there shouldn't be any problems. Xiao Wenhua nodded. It was useless for him to worry now. He couldn't help at all. He could only hope that the midwife would be able to help and prevent any accidents from happening to Liang Jinchao. The few women in the room looked at Liang Jinchao with worry. Although it was a little torturous for women to give birth, it was still a little dangerous for Liang Jinchao. Xiao Yun-er's body was trembling now. She was afraid that something would happen to Liang Jinchao. When Liang Jinchao was pregnant, she was the one who encouraged Liang Jinchao to have a child. After all, a child was a little life. They couldn't just abandon it casually. However, she didn't take into account that Liang Jinchao was an advanced pregnant woman, and it was very dangerous for her to give birth. If anything happened, she might even lose her life. If Liang Jinchao had a difficult birth this time, she would definitely feel guilty to death. The high-yielding midwife was relatively calmer. Over the years, she had delivered countless children and encountered many more dangerous situations. Liang Jinxiao's situation was actually not a big deal. Moreover, Liang Jinxiao's age was not very old in the high-yielding midwife's eyes. She had delivered many women in their 40s and 50s before, but didn't they still give birth to their children? In addition, Liang Jinxiao had given birth to a few children before. It wasn't like her first child, so it wouldn't be so difficult. The high-yielding midwife calmly handled Liang Jinxiao's situation. After another 1 or 2 hours, Liang Jinxiao finally gave birth. After giving birth, Liang Jinxiao was sweating profusely. Her lips were pale and she was extremely weak. Because he had lost a lot of blood this time, his body was naturally very weak. Zhao Yun'er's tense nerves finally relaxed when she heard that the high-yielding mother had given birth to the child and that Liang Jinxiao was fine. Matchmaker Gao smiled as she hugged the child. It's a little girl. Feng Zhangxia said, girls are good, girls are considerate. Third sister-in-law already has 2 boys, it's good to have a little girl. When Zhao Yun'er heard that it was a girl, she also liked it very much. Actually, to her, having a boy or a girl was the same. However, she was more partial to having a little sister. Zhao Yun'er was not in the mood to care about her younger sister. Instead, she walked up to Liang Jinxiao and asked Liang Jinxiao, "Mother, how are you now? Are you okay?" Liang Jinxiao shook his head. "I'm fine. I'll be fine after a good sleep." The high-yielding mother hurriedly stopped him. "You can sleep later. Your body is very weak now. Let the child cook something for you to eat first." After saying that, the high-yielding mother called out to Zhao Yun'er, "Girl, go make a bowl of brown sugar chicken for your mother. Brown sugar nourishes the blood. She lost a lot of blood during childbirth this time, so we have to make something for her to eat." "Okay." Zhao Yun'er hurriedly responded and ran out of the house to prepare food for Liang Jinxiao. The men waiting outside the house heard the baby's cries and smiled. "Third brother, third sister-in-law is fine. You don't have to worry." "Okay." Zhao Wenhua also nodded and smiled. He felt indescribably relaxed. Zhao Baoshan was a little curious. "I wonder if it's a boy or a girl." Old Zhao's family knew that Zhao Baoshan had always liked boys. Zhao Wentao hurriedly said, "Father, a boy or a girl is good." Chapter 24:45. Zhao Wenhua chimed in, "Right, Dad. I'm happy whether it's a boy or a girl. We already have a few boys at home. Don't ask for another boy now." Zhao Baoshan laughed heartily. "Dad didn't mean that. I was just casually mentioning it. It's the same whether it's a boy or a girl. Our old Zhao family's daughters are all pretty good. If third daughter-in-law gives birth to another child like Yun, wouldn't that be our old Zhao family's good fortune?" Zhao Wenhua felt a lot happier. He knew that the older generation only cared about their sons. Previously, when his family gave birth to a girl, his mother made a fuss for a long time. She was only happy when she gave birth to a boy. He thought that it would be the same now. After hearing Zhao Baoshan's words, Zhao Wenhua felt that his father's thoughts had become more enlightened. He was no longer as stubborn as before and was like an old antique. The people in the house also came out to report the good news to the men outside. "It's a girl." "Ah, that's great." Zhao Wenhua couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart and couldn't wait to take a look. Qian Jue smiled as she carried the child out and placed her in Zhao Wenhua's arms. This child's facial features are a bit like third brother's, but she's also delicate and cute. When she grows up, she'll definitely be good-looking. Qian Jue smiled and doted on the child. Zhao Wenhua stared at the little child in his arms and a strange feeling emerged in his heart. He didn't expect to have a daughter at this age. This should be a gift from God to him. The other men also stared at the child and liked her very much. After looking at the child, Zhao Wenhua asked Qian Jue, fifth sister-in-law, "How's your third sister-in-law? Is she all right?" "She's fine. Third sister-in-law is just a little weak. Yun has already gone to prepare brown sugar eggs for her. She should be fine after eating them. Third brother, don't worry. The midwife said that she's fine. There definitely won't be any problems." Yeah. Zhao Yunlong nodded after hearing Qian Zhuzhe's words. Then, he handed the child in his arms to the others and decided to go to the factory to check on Liang Jinqiao's situation. Zhao Yuner had already prepared the brown sugar eggs and brought them into the house. Zhao Wenhua took the egg from Zhao Yuner and said, "Yuner, give it to me. I'll feed it to your mother." "All right." Zhao Wenhua brought the brown sugar eggs to Liang Jinqiao and said gently, "Yuner's mother, you've worked hard. Hurry up and eat something to nourish your body. You've lost a lot of blood this time, and your body has become much weaker." Looking at Liang Jinqiao's pale lips, Zhao Wenhua's heart ached. If he could, he really wanted to be the one to suffer. If Liang Jinqiao did not have to suffer so much, then she would not have to suffer so much. Liang Jinqiao shook her head and smiled. She said blissfully, "I'm fine." Giving birth to a child is definitely a pain. It'll be fine once it's over. Didn't you already give birth to a few children before? This is not your first time. Look at how nervous you are. Zhao Wenhua replied with a straight face, "Yuner's mother, you're wrong. You're different this time. It was easier to give birth when you were younger. Now that you're older, how can it be so easy to give birth? You have to be careful." Liang Jinqiao did not refute. She knew that Zhao Wenhua was concerned about her. Chapter 2446. Yes. Yun-er's mother, come and eat something. You can have a good rest after eating. As Zhao Wenhua spoke, he blew on the brown sugar water. When it wasn't so hot, he brought it to Liang Jinqiao's mouth. Liang Jinqiao drank the brown sugar egg that Zhao Wenhua fed her with a blissful and sweet expression. Zhao Yun couldn't help but feel a little envious when she saw the loving appearance of her parents. Perhaps the best love was to hold someone's hand and grow old together. Even when they were old, they still supported each other and loved each other deeply. Because of the arrival of this little sister, Zhao Yun-er's family became even busier. Liang Jinqiao had to do a month of confinement, so the task of taking care of the children fell to the other members of the family. There were many children at home, so Zhao Yun naturally couldn't handle it alone. Now that it was spring, it was slowly entering the busy season of farming. They had to go to the paddy fields to sow rice and plant seedlings. Zhao Wenhua and Zhao Tianan had to work in the paddy fields, leaving only the women at home. Fortunately, Mu Hin and Qian Zhuzhao came over from time to time to help Liang Jinqiao survive the confinement period. During the confinement period, Liang Jinqiao's meals were all prepared by Zhao Yun-er. With Zhao Yun-er's nutrition, Liang Jinqiao's meals were very good and she had plenty of milk. After drinking milk for a month, Zhao Yun-er's little sister became white and chubby, like a porcelain doll. This child was just like Tian. They loved to smile and everyone loved them. It was a good choice for such a small child to accompany Tian in the future. After having a few more children at home, although life was a little busier, it also added a lot of joy. Zhao Yun-er also gained some experience in taking care of children. This was probably something she didn't even dare to think about in her previous life. One day, she could be a full-time housewife. In the past, she was repulsed, but now, she felt that this kind of life was a different kind of happiness. After spring, the weather was much warmer, and they didn't need to wear so many clothes anymore. It was much more convenient for them to move around. The pigs that Zhao Yuner asked her aunt and uncle to raise had grown big enough and could be sold. Some of the sows even gave birth to many piglets. A sow giving birth to piglets was different from giving birth to children. She could give birth to 10 to 20 piglets at once. There were dozens of pigs in the previous batch, and each pig weighed 200 to 300 catties. That would be worth 2 to 3 taels of silver. A few dozen pigs would be worth 1 to 200 taels of silver. Therefore, in just a few months, after deducting the cost of feeding the pigs, the net profit alone was about 100 taels of silver. That amount of money was unimaginable for a country bumpkin. Ordinary farmers might not even be able to save a few taels of silver in a year. Moreover, Xiao Yun'er's pigsty was still in its early stages, so there weren't many pigs. Once he gained experience in raising them, he would naturally not just raise a few dozen this time. Later on, he would increase the number of pigs raised. Naturally, he would earn more money in a year. In addition, because the pigs raised could give birth to piglets, he didn't have to buy piglets from other places like the first batch. He kept some of the piglets for himself, and the rest were sold to other families who wanted to raise pigs. A piglet could be sold for a few hundred copper coins. This profit was constantly increasing. In the long run, he could indeed earn a lot of money. With the income, Xiao Yun'er gave his aunt and uncle a lot of money according to the previous agreement. Chapter 2447. However, seeing that raising pigs could bring in so much profit and money, Xiao Yun'er's aunt and uncle felt that it was much better than farming. Although it was a bit tiring, there was always more to look forward to. Earning so much money could make the family's life better and better. They only hoped that their children would not have to suffer and could eat and drink their fill. In the following time, Liang Jinyu and her husband worked even harder to raise pigs. Because of the previous accumulation of experience, after this batch of pigs was sold, they raised 100 or 200 pigs at once. Every day, they got up early to take care of it and went to the mountains to cut grass for the pigs to eat. They could save a lot of food and save even more costs. On the other hand, the tea trees planted by Mulan and Zhu Eru were also raised very well. After the beginning of spring, they could pick new tea leaves. Picking tea leaves was more troublesome. Xiao Yun'er especially hired some reliable women from the village. These people were usually not busy with housework and could take time out. Working in the village was not as tiring as the men's work. The women could handle it. Every day, Xiao Yun'er gave them a good salary. Many women in the village were willing to come and help Xiao Yun'er's family pick tea leaves. In the past, women could not earn money at home and had to rely on men for everything. Naturally, their status at home was very low. Women could also earn money and work, which could bring more income to the family. Their status at home would also be relatively higher. Xiao Yun'er sent the newly picked tea leaves to the palace at a very high price. On top of that, she received a large amount of money. Her life was on the right track and was developing in a better and better direction. During this period of busyness, Xiao Yun'er temporarily put down her thoughts of Mu Lianfeng. However, after it was almost summer, she had a lot of free time. There was not so much work to do every day. Xiao Yun'er could not help but think about Mu Lianfeng's situation. This time, Mu Lianfeng had been away for a long time, almost half a year. There was no sign of him coming back. She did not know when it would end. However, Xiao Yun'er received several letters from Mu Lianfeng, reporting that he was safe. Finally, in the middle of summer, when the weather was hot, Mu Lianfeng came back. Xiao Yun'er was boiling mung bean soup in the kitchen. She wanted to make some iced mung bean soup for her family to drink and relieve the summer heat. Dowda took Tian to play in the yard, and they were very happy. Tian was a smart child. She had learned how to walk before she was even a year old. Although his steps were somewhat unsteady, he was able to stabilize himself and prevent himself from falling. Tian walked back and forth in the courtyard, laughing non-stop. When Zhao Yun'er saw this, she hurriedly said to Daodu, "Daodu, keep an eye on the little girl and tell her to slow down." "Yes, mother, Daodu knows." Daodu smiled. After a year, Daodu had grown a lot taller. When he smiled, he had the demeanor of a handsome young man. As an older brother, Daodu could be said to be very competent. He took good care of Tian Tian. "Little sister Tian Tian, slow down. Don't fall." Daodu also reminded Tian Tian in a somewhat childish voice. "Yes, yes." A soft voice responded. Tian Tian, who had just slowed down, suddenly picked up her pace again. She ran towards the direction of the courtyard, shouting as she ran, "Father, father." Daodu also looked towards the direction of the courtyard. When he saw Mu Lianfeng's familiar figure on horseback and rushing towards them, his eyes immediately became wet. Chapter 24:48. As his father, Daodu idolized Mu Lianfeng even more. In the days after Mu Lianfeng left, Daodu missed Mu Lianfeng as much as Zhao Yun'er. However, Daodu knew that Mu Lianfeng had no choice but to leave. No matter how much he missed his father, he could only quietly wait for his father to return. How could Daodu not be excited now that the moon and the stars that he had been looking forward to finally came back? Similar to Tiantian's reaction, Daodu hurriedly ran out of the courtyard, shouting as he ran, "Father, father." When they reached the courtyard, Mu Lianfeng immediately jumped off his horse and hugged Daodu and Tian Tian. During his time at the frontier fortress, he missed his wife and children every day and night, and he finally saw them today. Mu Lianfeng saw that Daodu and Tian Tian had grown a lot taller than before he left. Especially Tian Tian, this child could even walk now. Sure enough, it was a pity that he could not accompany his children for a period of time and participate in their growth. However, after this time, he should be able to stay and accompany Zhao Yun'er and the two children. Tian Tian immediately wrapped her arms around Mu Lianfeng's neck and kissed Mu Lianfeng's face. However, Mu Lianfeng's face was not as smooth as before. Now that he had a face full of stubble, Tiantian's lips hurt when she kissed him. Mu Lianfeng smiled as he touched Tiantian's face and asked, "How are you? Did the two of you miss your father?" Daodu answered without hesitation, "Of course we did. Father, Daodu missed you so much. Why are you only back now?" Mu Lianfeng replied somewhat apologetically, "It's father's fault for being late. However, father can't be away for so long in the future. I'll stay by Daodu and Tiantian's side in the future, okay?" Daodu and Tian Tian both nodded heavily, "Okay." Ha! Mu Lianfeng could not help but kiss Tian Tian and Daodu's cheeks. This feeling was so good. After staying at the frontier fortress for a period of time, Mu Lianfeng now cherished his life with the people he loved more and more. Sometimes, a peaceful life was a kind of happiness. Being able to live with the people he loved and his children was more important than anything else. The so-called fame and fortune meant nothing at all. Zhao Yun heard movement in the house and quickly came out of the kitchen. When she saw Mu Lianfeng's face, she was stunned. She thought she was seeing things. Mu Lianfeng was back. Was it really him? Or did she see it wrong? However, Mu Hin's voice pulled Zhao Yun back to reality. Mu Hin shouted happily, "Ah, brother-in-law, you're back." Mu Lianfeng got up and replied with a smile, "Yes, I'm back." After Mu Lianfeng finished speaking, he looked at Zhao Yun again. Seeing Zhao Yun's silly and tender look, he felt that she was very cute. "Yun-er. I'm back." Mu Lianfeng's voice was a little choked and hoarse. After being stunned for a moment, Zhao Yun'er was filled with joy and said happily to Mu Lianfeng, "You're back." "Yes. I'm back." She could not control her legs and walked towards Mu Lianfeng. Mu Lianfeng put down Daodu and Tian Tian and walked in front of Zhao Yun. He pulled her into his arms and greedily sucked on Zhao Yun's familiar scent. Chapter 2449. It wasn't until she felt the warmth from Mu Lianfeng's body that Zhao Yun realized that she wasn't dreaming. Mu Lianfeng was really back. This half a year passed quickly, but it was also slow. However, they managed to endure until Mu Lianfeng returned. In front of so many family members, Mu Lianfeng didn't feel embarrassed. He didn't want to let go of Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun's face was red. She could only let Mu Lianfeng hug her. She was too shy in front of her family members, especially in front of the two children. Mu Lianfeng hugged Zhao Yun for a long time before reluctantly letting go of her. Zhao Yun looked at Mu Lianfeng's face. Compared to before, Mu Lianfeng looked much older. His beard stubble was very long. He probably hadn't shaved it. It wasn't like when he was in the village. He shaved his beard often, so he looked much fairer. However, this Mu Lianfeng looked more mature. From Mu Lianfeng's face, one could tell that Mu Lianfeng didn't have an easy time in the frontier fortress over the past half a year. Mu Lianfeng must have suffered a lot in such a harsh environment. Did you win the battle? Yes. Mu Lianfeng nodded in response. This time, they finally returned victorious. They didn't waste too much time. If it was a normal battle, it wouldn't be impossible to delay it for a few years. Mu Lianfeng felt that he couldn't endure another day. He desperately wanted to see Zhao Yun and the two children. If he had to wait a few more years, he would probably break down. The reason why he won the battle so quickly this time was that he had a capable warrior, Yi Li. In addition to the work he did, the most important reason was that he had a capable warrior. It had to be said that Yi Li's martial arts were impressive. He was even more skilled in battle. This person was like a natural war god. He won every battle. Although he didn't have any experience, he was outstanding in this aspect. It was precisely because of Yi Li's contributions that they were able to quickly end the war and return in advance. Mu Lianfeng was glad that Yi Li had followed him to the frontier fortress. Zhao Yun smiled at Mu Lianfeng and said, "Are you tired? Quickly go inside and rest." "All right." Mu Lianfeng could not wait to enter the house. He missed the familiar feeling of home. Zhao Yun poured a bowl of herbal tea for Mu Lianfeng. Mu Lianfeng gulped it down. Looking at Mu Lianfeng's appearance, Zhao Yun knew that this guy must have rushed home without stopping. He must have eaten and slept in the open along the way. He couldn't wait to rush back and see them as soon as possible. She was very happy that Mu Lianfeng was able to stand by her side again. Zhao Yun only hoped that Mu Lianfeng would not leave in the future. She hoped that they would just stay here and live a good life. Mu Lianfeng wiped the sweat off his forehead and revealed a blissful smile. At this moment, Zhao Yun and her family came out of the house and greeted Mu Lianfeng. The atmosphere in the house was very joyous. Besides the good news of Mu Lianfeng's return, the other good news was that Mu Hin was pregnant. She was already 2 months pregnant. For the third branch, this meant that they had another member. This news was, of course, exciting. Speaking of which, Mu Hin's pregnancy was considered relatively late. Usually, a daughter-in-law would get pregnant within a few months. However, Mu Hin's stomach did not show any signs of pregnancy for more than half a year. Chapter 2450. Fortunately, Mu Hin was pregnant this time, which meant that Zhao Tianan and Mu Hin's bodies were fine. Zhao Tianan and Mu Hin were the ones who would be happy about this. The two of them had been looking forward to having a child for a long time, and now they finally had one. It seemed that lucky things happened one after another, and good things happened one after another. In the evening, because Mu Lianfeng came back, Xiao Yun specially prepared a big meal and prepared a lot of dishes. And they were all dishes that Mu Lianfeng liked. After dinner, the family sat together and chatted for a while. Then they washed up early and returned to the house. During this time, Xiao Yun took Daodu and Tian Tian to sleep. Seeing that Mu Lianfeng came back, Daodu took the initiative to say, "Mother, Daodu and little sister Tian Tian won't be sleeping with mother tonight." "Ah. Why is that?" Daodu smiled sweetly and replied, "Because mother wants to sleep with father. Daodu will sleep with little sister Tian Tian and won't disturb mother and father." Xiao Yun was stunned by Daodu's words. Wasn't this child a little too precocious? Cough cough. She was a little embarrassed. Mu Lianfeng listened from the side and a smile appeared on his face. He gave Daodu an admiring look. So obedient and sensible. Hurry up and take little sister to sleep next door when we're there. Daodu nodded heavily and responded, "Okay, father, I'll go now." With that, Daodu took Tiantian's little hand and walked to the room next door. The corner of Xiao Yun's mouth twitched. She glanced at Mu Lianfeng bitterly and hurriedly followed Daodu and Tian Tian to the room next door. She had to make sure that the two children were sleeping on the bed before she could be at ease. Otherwise, she wouldn't be at ease. Xiao Yun carried the two children to bed and covered them with a quilt. Then, she returned to her room. At this time, Mu Lianfeng couldn't wait to get on the bed. He took off his coat and was only wearing a pair of underwear. That smooth and sexy chest was very muscular, and Xiao Yun couldn't help but have a nosebleed when she saw it. This kind of figure was the kind of figure that many women in the 21st century liked. This guy must be doing it on purpose. He purposely exposed it to seduce her. Xiao Yun swallowed her saliva and tiptoed to the bed. At this time, her heart beat, she was very nervous. Logically speaking, it wasn't her first time with Mu Lianfeng, so why was she so nervous? Perhaps it was because she hadn't been with Mu Lianfeng for too long. She just needed to familiarize herself with him over the next few days. As soon as Xiao Yun touched the bed, Mu Lianfeng couldn't wait to grab Xiao Yun. Then, he turned over and pressed Xiao Yun under his body. "You." Xiao Yun faced Mu Lianfeng. She didn't have the strength to struggle and could only be pressed down by this guy. Mu Lianfeng's weight on her body was very heavy. She felt like she couldn't breathe. However, Mu Lianfeng didn't seem to care so much. He couldn't wait to take her body. His lips covered hers first. He tossed and turned, pried open her pearly white teeth, and entangled with her. Xiao Yun sank into Mu Lianfeng's kiss. She couldn't push him away and could only passively accept it. Mu Lianfeng's movements became more and more intense. After kissing enough, he slowly moved on to the next step. He put his hand on Xiao Yun's body and slowly unbuttoned her clothes. Xiao Yun trembled from Mu Lianfeng's touch. Her body felt a little numb. Chapter 24:51. I missed you too. Xiao Yun replied in a soft voice. At this moment, her face was burning hot because of Mu Lianfeng's arousal. When Mo Lianfeng heard Xiao Yun's words, he was very satisfied. His hands continued to grope Xiao Yun's body. Because they had been separated for too long, Mu Lianfeng felt like he was going to explode from holding it in. Xiao Yun felt the same way. She felt like her body was like a piece of dead wood, desperately waiting for the nourishment of the rain. And Mu Lianfeng was her rain. Mu Lianfeng also couldn't hold back his hands. The two of them hugged each other tightly and carried out a blissful and joyful thing. For the entire night, Xiao Yun was in a half-asleep state because of Mu Lianfeng's torment. She had to admit that this guy's stamina was really good. It was obviously not so tiring to rush back, but when they came back at night, he still did it for the entire night without feeling tired at all. If it were him, his body wouldn't be able to withstand it. When Zhao Yun woke up the next day, she had dark circles under her eyes and was in a sleepy state. Mu Lianfeng, on the other hand, seemed to be in a good state. The worst thing was that Mu Lianfeng actually planted a lot of strawberries on her neck. If they went out and were seen by others, they would know how intense the two of them were last night. Zhao Yun glared at Mu Lianfeng bitterly and warned him not to do such things again. She didn't know how to go out later. In order to cover up the marks on her neck, Zhao Yun had to wrap a scarf around her neck. But it was summer, and not only was it hot to wear a scarf, it also looked weird. Mu Lianfeng didn't stay at the third branch for long. The troops that went to the frontier had already returned. Mu Lianfeng had to go to the capital to report to the emperor in the next few days. He was supposed to go back with the troops, but he really couldn't wait to see Zhao Yun and their child, so he could only go back alone and leave the troops to Yili. After staying at Zhao Yun's house for a few days, it was about time to go to the capital. Mu Lianfeng took Zhao Yun with him to the capital. As Mu Lianfeng's wife, Zhao Yun naturally had to appear when Mu Lianfeng won the battle and received the honor of the imperial court. Thus, Zhao Yun and Mu Lianfeng spent another 2 days together and went to the capital. At this time, the troops had returned to the capital's capital city. Was stationed outside the city walls. When Mu Lianfeng returned to the Jingdu city, he and Yili were praised by the emperor. Because of this victory, the emperor's power gained a bit of an advantage in the imperial court. The emperor was very happy and decided to reward Mu Lianfeng and Yili well. Because of Yili's outstanding performance, the emperor was even more certain of his talent. He wanted to promote Yili and let Yili be used by the country and serve the imperial court. This time, no one was happier than Anil. She didn't have a good time in the past half year. Day and night, she hoped that Yili would be able to make contributions and return victorious. This way, her imperial brother could reward him and she and Yili would have a chance to be together. If it wasn't for the fact that she was being watched closely and didn't have a chance to escape, Anil would have already escaped from the imperial palace and gone to the frontier to find Yili. Fortunately, after such a long time, she finally waited for Yili to come back. And Yili didn't disappoint her. He really came back victorious. Chapter 2452. As long as she had his royal brother's agreement, would she need to be afraid of not being able to obtain Yili's son-in-law? The emperor held a grand banquet and basically all the important people in the court came to participate. The banquet was held in the royal palace. Seeing that the emperor was here for official business, the people in charge of the banquet did not dare slack off. They did their best to arrange it and make the banquet seem lively. Very soon it was the day of the banquet. The second day Zhao Yun arrived in the capital. There were people who arranged for her and Mu Lianfeng's residences. She wanted to see Yili, but in the end she was brought to the banquet. This was Zhao Yun's first time seeing the ancient royal palace. In the 21st century, she had been to Beijing and seen the Forbidden City, so she knew how luxurious the royal palace was. When she saw the great Zhou country's royal palace, because there were many people living in the palace, it was much more lively. Zhao Yun curiously looked around the entire way, admiring the architecture of this era. This banquet was the most grand and luxurious one Zhao Yun had ever attended since she came to this era. The eunuchs and maids in the palace walked in an orderly manner with their heads down, trembling in fear. This allowed Zhao Yun to feel the imperial power of this era. For a small person like her, she was too small in front of the imperial power. It was a good thing she had Mu Lianfeng. With Mu Lianfeng, at least her life wouldn't be too oppressed and there wouldn't be too many people bullying her. Zhao Yun followed Mu Lianfeng to the banquet. As the hero of this time, Mu Lianfeng's seat was arranged to the front, to the emperor's left. As soon as Xiao Yun and Mu Lianfeng appeared, the officials who had already come to attend the banquet and their family members all looked at them. This scene was a bit oppressive. However, Xiao Yun had seen a lot in her previous life. In order not to embarrass Mu Lianfeng and let others think that she was just a country bumpkin, Xiao Yun walked with her back straight and did not have the slightest bit of humility. The officials and family members of the court had heard before that the present Shi Fei was just an ordinary village woman. Originally, as a matter of gossip, they were curious as to how Xiao Yun, a country bumpkin with no status, managed to get close to Shi Yi and even received the emperor's personal bestowal of marriage. Now that they saw Xiao Yun in person, they felt that Xiao Yun was not as bad as they thought. Xiao Yun didn't have the rustic aura of a country bumpkin. He straightened his back and walked with an air of nobility. Although she wasn't a beauty that could cause the downfall of a city, she was still pretty. Standing beside Mu Lianfeng, she did not feel that the two of them were too incompatible. As expected, one couldn't believe rumors. One had to see it with their own eyes to know. Xiao Yun and Mu Lianfeng walked together and sat down. Facing the gazes from all directions, Xiao Yun didn't know what to say. It seemed that everyone was curious about her as the Shi Fei. Being stared at by everyone, Xiao Yun sat upright and still. She didn't dare to slack off. She was afraid that if she did something wrong, she would be caught and talked about. Sitting opposite Xiao Yun and to the right of the emperor was Yili. After leaving for half a year, Xiao Yun only saw Yili today. Yili was the same as Mu Lianfeng. He seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of life. His stubble was a bit long and he looked more mature. His skin was also much darker and not as fair as before. However, many people liked this mature man's appearance. Chapter 2453. But Xiao Yun was not very happy about Yili's transformation. The reason why he became like this was because he must have suffered a lot when he was at the frontier. As if feeling Xiao Yun's gaze, Yili raised his head and met Xiao Yun's eyes. From a distance, the two of them looked at each other. Yili chuckled and greeted Xiao Yun. Yili had a straight face until he saw Xiao Yun, and then a smile appeared on his face. Although Yili looked very calm on the surface, his heart was already restless. After being at the frontier for so long, the only thing that supported him was Xiao Yun. He wanted to win the war as soon as possible so that he could come back earlier and see Xiao Yun earlier. At the same time, Xiao Yun and Mu Lianfeng could be reunited. Now that he saw Xiao Yun, the thoughts that had accumulated during this period of time were finally satisfied at this moment. Although he knew that it was impossible between him and Xiao Yun, he couldn't help but think of her in his heart. People were like this. Sometimes, it was difficult to control their hearts. Even loving someone and not loving someone was not easy to control. Xiao Yun also nodded to Yili as a greeting. She was able to be magnanimous, so naturally, no one would think that she and Yili were flirting with each other or that there was an improper relationship. Mu Lianfeng sat down next to Xiao Yun, looked at Xiao Yun, and then looked at Yili. Although he knew that Yili also had Xiao Yun, in his heart, Mu Lianfeng completely trusted Yili. This man's actions could be called a gentleman. He would never do something like poaching. Mu Lianfeng was very happy that there was someone like him who was unconditionally good to Xiao Yun. They sat at the table for a while, and soon after, the banquet officially began. This time, the reward banquet was very grand. Even the imperial family came out to participate. After a while, a eunuch shouted, "The emperor has arrived." He saw a bright yellow figure leading a group of people towards the banquet. There were two women standing on the emperor's left and right sides. Zhao Yun roughly guessed from the dress and a little understanding of the imperial family that the one standing on the emperor's left side was the current empress, and the one standing on the right side should be the powerful imperial concubine Hua. In addition, there was a crowd of concubines, palace maids and eunuchs. And in the crowd, there was a person that Zhao Yun was very familiar with. That was Anil. But what made Zhao Yun feel strange was that Anil should not be a man. Why was Anil wearing a long dress with a golden buyao on her head? She was dressed like a girl. Looking at Anil's face, after wearing light makeup, her facial features became much softer and more beautiful. She could be considered a beauty. Zhao Yun frowned. She wondered if Anil was a woman dressed as a man. Zhao Yun felt a little stupid. A woman dressed as a man had lived in her house for so long. How could he not have noticed? At that time, she thought that Anil was a little effeminate. Now, she finally understood why she was effeminate. It was because she was a woman. How could she not be effeminate? After understanding the whole situation, besides being shocked, Zhao Yun also felt curious. What was a woman dressed as a man doing here? Chapter 2454. But now that she knew that Anil was a woman, it meant that there was something going on between her and Yi Li. Zhao Yun secretly fantasized about the two of them being together. She knew that Yi Li liked her, but there was only one of her and she couldn't split herself into two. As for Yi Li, she only had feelings for him as a friend. She didn't have any romantic feelings for him. And for a man as good as Yi Li, Zhao Yun only hoped that he could find a good girl so that he wouldn't be alone for the rest of his life. Moreover, he would only be able to forget about the past after he started a new relationship. What Yi Li needed to do now was to find a good girl to be with. That way, he could slowly forget about her. Yi Li also saw Anil sitting next to the emperor. His reaction was the same as Zhao Yun's. He first frowned and a trace of confusion appeared in his eyes. Then his eyes darkened as if he was thinking about something. As soon as Anil arrived, she looked everywhere for Yi Li. When she finally saw Yi Li, Anil's entire face was filled with joy. It wasn't easy for her to wait so long for Yi Li's triumphant return. If she waited any longer, she would probably get lovesick. Fortunately, she saw Yi Li at this time. Although Yi Li had changed a little before he left, Anil felt that Yi Li had become even more handsome. Actually, it didn't matter if Yi Li became handsome or ugly. As long as it was him, she would still like him. Yi Li met Anil's burning gaze and quickly looked away. He didn't dare to continue looking at Anil. Anil's heart instantly sank. Seeing Yi Li's reaction, it seemed like he couldn't be bothered to talk to her. Sigh, why was it like this? Why was Yi Li ignoring her? It wasn't easy for her to wait for him to come back. Didn't he miss her at all? Anil thought that she had never been this upset even when she had taken away her favorite food. However, when Yi Li ignored her, she felt as if there was a rock in her heart. She was extremely upset. Anil dejectedly followed the emperor to the seat that had been arranged for him. Because it was specially arranged, Anil and Yi Li sat closer to each other. Anil kept his eyes on Yi Li, but Yi Li never looked up. The more Anil thought about it, the more disappointed he felt, but there was nothing he could do. She couldn't possibly force Yi Li to look at her. Anil rested his chin on his hands and leaned on the table, looking depressed. She had specially dressed up today. She had chosen her favorite clothes and put on her favorite jewelry. She had thought that Yi Li would take a second look at her. Now, it seemed like she had thought too much. For someone who didn't love her, it didn't matter how pretty she was. That person simply couldn't be bothered to look at her. Anil felt that she had thought too highly of herself. Perhaps she had been too confident. She thought that Yi Li might take a fancy to her if she dressed up as a woman. After the emperor finished his banquet, the Empress Dowager also arrived. The Empress Dowager and Anil sat together. Anla tugged at the corner of the Empress Dowager's clothes and softly muttered to the Empress Dowager, "Imperial Mother, quickly look at that General Yi that Aken told you about. Imperial brother often praises his talent. This time at the frontier fortress, his abilities were outstanding and his military exploits were illustrious. If it wasn't for him, we might not have been able to win the war or end the war so quickly." Chapter 2455. The Empress Dowager looked in the direction that Anil was pointing and saw Yili. Yili was indeed handsome and dignified. He was different from the other generals she had seen before. The famous generals in the imperial court were all strong and powerful men. They all looked rough and were definitely not as good-looking as Yili. In this way, Yili was indeed outstanding in both ability and appearance. No wonder Anil was head over heels for this man. It was because he was unwilling to get married and had been making a fuss with her. She had chosen many suitable husbands for him, but he had never looked at any of them. Yet, he was infatuated with this man. After seeing him, the Empress Dowager felt that Yili was talented and good-looking, but she still felt that he was not good enough for Anil. The dignified eldest princess of the imperial court should be married to a noble of the imperial court. Yili had no power or influence. He was nothing. If she married the princess to him, wouldn't it be too unfair? The Empress Dowager reprimanded Anil with a stern face. "Look at you. You're so useless. You're so agitated over a man. You're not reserved at all as a princess." Anil pursed her lips and replied coquettishly, "Imperial Mother. How am I not reserved? If you weren't reserved, I would have run over to him long ago. Why would I be sitting here so obediently?" When the Empress Dowager heard Anil's words, she glared at Anil. "You lass. Will you only be happy if I die from anger? What nonsense are you spouting? Imperial Mother. I was just saying. I didn't really do it, Imperial Mother. You've seen this man. What do you think? Is it possible for me to marry him? Whoa. I really like him. Please grant my wish, Imperial Mother." Anil tugged at the Empress Dowager's sleeve coquettishly as she discussed with the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager's mouth twitched for a moment before she replied mildly, "All right, don't mention this now. Nothing has been set in stone yet. Look at you, lass. Do you still have any prospects? Which woman would throw herself at him like you? She can't wait to marry him." Anil was a little unconvinced. "Mother, what's the use of having a future? I was born as the eldest princess of our great Zhou country. Relying on myself, I can only be the eldest princess. What other positions can I climb up to? Moreover, as our great Zhou country's eldest princess, I'm marrying any man that isn't a loss. Since that's the case, marrying Yili, marrying the person I like isn't a bad idea. And Imperial Mother, you used to say that I'm getting older and wanted me to get married earlier. Now that I want to get married, you say that I can't wait to get married. Anyway, I'm in the wrong no matter what I do, right?" The corners of the Empress Dowager's mouth twitched, and she replied angrily, "You sure know how to talk back. Even Imperial Mother can't win against you. What I said is the truth. Imperial Mother naturally can't refute it." The Empress Dowager was helpless against Anil. But she still didn't approve of Yili in her heart. She couldn't bear to let her precious daughter marry someone without any power or influence. Who knew if she would be bullied after marrying him? Seeing that everyone had arrived, the banquet officially entered the main topic. Chapter 2456. To be able to receive the emperor's praise was naturally a supreme honor for the officials. However, Mu Lianfeng and Yili had no interest in the imperial court, so they didn't care about this so-called honor. However, as the officials who had contributed greatly this time, they couldn't refuse the emperor's special reward banquet. If they did, they would offend the emperor and bring unnecessary trouble to themselves. After a round of official speeches, the emperor gave out some specific rewards to the officials who had contributed greatly. Mu Lianfeng's title in the imperial court was raised by 2 ranks, and his annual salary was also increased by a lot. In addition, he was rewarded with a large amount of land, gold, silver, and jewelry. Whether it was in terms of official position or financial resources, the emperor gave out generous rewards. Other than rewarding Mu Lianfeng for his meritorious service at the frontier fortress, it was also a warning to the others in the imperial court that as long as they worked for him and were loyal to him, they would be rewarded handsomely. This was to win people's hearts. After all, the emperor was in a very awkward position in the imperial court. All the power was not concentrated in his hands. The relatives of those big families held a large portion of the power. In fact, this was the case for many dynasties. As a monarch, he had to rule the entire country and face intrigue every day. Although on the surface, he was in a high position and enjoyed endless honor, there were many risks behind the scenes. There was also a lot of sadness and helplessness. To be able to stand in this position for a long time and not be controlled by others, it was not easy. What the emperor wanted to do now was to slowly grasp the power in his hands. Only then would he be able to completely control some things. Otherwise, he would just be a puppet. Mu Lianfeng and Zhao Yun both attended the banquet and received the emperor's rewards. The next person to be rewarded was Yi Li. The emperor was not stingy with his rewards. He arranged for Yi Li to be a general with great power. If he could achieve this at such a young age, he would eventually be able to climb up the ranks and become a general. In addition, Yi Li also received some land and gold, silver, and jewelry as rewards. However, Yi Li attended the banquet. To everyone's surprise, he rejected all of the emperor's rewards in front of him. Everyone was shocked. At the same time, they felt that Yi Li was too daring. How could he refuse the emperor's reward? The emperor stared at Yi Li with his deep eyes. There was no expression on his face. No one could tell what the emperor was feeling at this time. However, judging from the emperor's aura, it seemed to reveal a hint of danger. Zhao Yun'er looked anxiously at Yi Li, then at the emperor. He didn't know how Yi Li could refuse the emperor's reward in front of so many officials. Could it be that he was not afraid of offending the emperor and possibly losing his life? The emperor raised his eyebrows and asked Yi Li, "Oh, I don't know why, beloved official, you rejected my reward." Yi Li respectfully bowed and said, "Replying to your majesty, this time this official went to the frontier fortress only because this official wanted to do his part. Although your majesty thinks that this official has made a great contribution, this official does not take this contribution to heart. In the future, this official only wants to be free and unfettered. This official does not have much interest in the matters of the imperial court. Thus, this official does not want to be rewarded with any official title. This official only wants to be an ordinary person and live an ordinary life." Chapter 2457. He didn't want to be involved in the matters of the imperial court. He didn't want to be involved in those complicated schemes and dark matters. The reason why he had achieved so much and performed so well. He just felt that there were some things he had to do, so he would do his best. Also, the earlier he finished the war at the frontier fortress, the earlier he could come back. Not only could he see Zhao Yun'er earlier, but he could also see Mu Lianfeng earlier. At the same time, he could let Zhao Yun'er and Mu Lianfeng reunite as soon as possible and live happily together as a family. For Yi Li, he felt that the happiest time in his life was when he lived with Zhao Yun'er's family. It was simple and happy. It wasn't a rich and powerful life, but it was very comfortable. After that period of time, Yi Li knew the life he wanted to pursue. Even if he didn't live with Zhao Yun'er's family in the future, he still wanted to buy a piece of land in Shuilan village, build a house, and live a simple life. He didn't need to trouble Zhao Yun'er's family, but he could often see the people he wanted to see. Now that he accepted the emperor's reward, it meant that he would be involved in the life of the imperial court in the future. This was something he didn't want. In the eyes of others, this kind of decision was a bit foolish. Many people pursued fame and fortune their entire lives, but they still couldn't reach his current level. But he refused to accept the status and honor that was at his fingertips. The emperor's eyes deepened. After a few seconds of silence, he faintly opened his mouth and said, "But from the looks of it, isn't it too unfair for a talented person like beloved official Yi to only be an ordinary commoner? Xin cherishes talent. Beloved official Yi is a talent that I want to keep by my side." The emperor's words meant that he wanted to force Yi Li to stay. He wasn't happy with Yi Li's refusal. Everyone present knew that if Yi Li refused again, the emperor might really get angry. At that time, it could cause a very serious consequence. It might even cause Yi Li to lose his life. Zhao Yun'er looked at Yi Li with a trace of worry in her eyes. Zhao Yun'er knew a little about Yi Li. He had a stubborn personality and wouldn't give up easily once he set his mind on something. Even in front of the emperor, he might not be willing to do what he didn't want to do under the emperor's pressure. Anil stared at Yi Li worriedly as he clutched the corner of his shirt. This fool, it's so good to accept a reward, why does he have to be a commoner? If Yi Li didn't have any status, how could she marry him? Yi Li replied with an indifferent face, "The emperor's appreciation for this minister is this minister's honor, but there are many talents in the great Zhou country, not just this minister. This subject thanks your majesty for your kindness, but I still want to live a normal life. I hope your majesty will grant my wish." After Yi Li finished speaking, everyone held their breaths, afraid that they would be greeted with the emperor's fury in the next second. The emperor's eyes darkened, and there was an unreadable expression on his face. The air was a bit heavy and Zhao Yun'er's heart began to beat faster. She looked at Yi Li with worry before looking at the emperor. Mu Lianfeng suddenly stood up and said to the emperor, "Emperor, just grant General Yi his wish. Since he doesn't care about the court, there's no point in forcing him to stay. It's better to let him live the life he wants. After all, he is a hero of our great Zhou country this time, he has already made great contributions." Chapter 2458. How could he not be the same? However, his hereditary title meant that he could not be like Yi Li and completely escape from the matters of the imperial court. However, Yi Li had the opportunity to do so. As a friend, he naturally had to step forward and help him at this moment. The corners of the emperor's mouth slightly rose and his smile became even more thought-provoking. "Since that's the case, then we won't force you any further. All right. If beloved official Yi doesn't want to accept these things, then we won't force you. However, if beloved official Yi wants them one day, feel free to ask us. Today, we promise to reward you. We can take back the things we gave you at any time." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Yi Li replied gratefully. Zhao Yun'er's hanging heart was finally put down. However, the emperor didn't get angry this time and actually agreed to Yi Li's request. This made Zhao Yun'er feel a bit surprised. Sometimes, things came too easily. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that there was something fishy going on. Forget it. She didn't want to think about it anymore. Once she thought about it carefully, Zhao Yun'er felt a headache coming on. Yi Li returned to his seat in satisfaction. However, Anil was stunned at this moment. Yi Li had rejected everything. Did that mean that there was no possibility between them? Sob, sob, sob. When she thought of this, Anil's heart ached. Anil's eyes were empty. She didn't even hear the Empress Dowager's shouts. The emperor continued to reward the other meritorious officials. Afterwards, the imperial palace arranged a program. They ate the delicacies of the imperial palace while watching these wonderful programs. It had to be said that the delicacies of the imperial palace were all very exquisite and delicious. Although the ancient songs and dances weren't as dynamic as the modern ones, they had a bit more flavor. When the banquet ended, it was already late at night. The people who came to participate in the banquet began to leave. Second cousin sister. Zhao Tianlong called out to Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun raised her head and saw Zhao Tianlong. She knew that Zhao Tianlong was an official in the capital, but she never thought that Zhao Tianlong's position would be this high. He even had the honor of entering the palace to participate in this reward banquet. It was obvious that his eldest cousin brother was not an ordinary person. Since they were relatives, Zhao Yun was very polite to Zhao Tianlong. She smiled and replied, "Elder cousin brother, are you also here to attend this award banquet?" "That's right." Zhao Tianlong nodded his head in response. At this moment, Zhao Yun discovered that there was a beautiful woman standing beside Zhao Tianlong. From the way she dressed and her temperament, it could be seen that this woman's background was not simple. It exuded a sense of nobility from the inside out. Seeing Zhao Yun looking at her, Princess Miao Yin smiled and nodded, greeting Zhao Yun. Zhao Tianlong stood at the side and introduced, "Yun, this is my elder cousin-in-law." Zhao Tianlong felt a little guilty as he introduced the two of them. As a member of old Zhao's family, Zhao Yun knew that his ex-wife was Shen Pan. Now that the person had suddenly changed, it was a little difficult to explain. Eldest cousin-in-law. Eldest cousin-in-law, isn't she Pan or sister-in-law? Why did it suddenly change? Could it be that Pan or sister-in-law and eldest cousin-in-law divorced? Eldest cousin-in-law, did you marry another woman? Zhao Yun asked curiously. She deliberately asked this question to see what Zhao Tianlong would say. Previously, she was curious as to why Shen Pan would bring Yang Yang back to her maternal family. However, no one who liked the first branch was willing to talk about the reason. Now, it seemed that there was a lot of fishy going on. Chapter 24:59. Zhao Yun chuckled, "It's fine, eldest cousin. If it's a long story, then take your time. There's no rush anyway." Zhao Tianlong pursed his lips and explained with an unsightly expression, "Pan, and I didn't divorce, I just married Miao Yin." As Zhao Tianlong spoke, he pointed at Princess Miao Yin and introduced her, "Your current eldest cousin-in-law is Princess Miao Yin. She has a noble status and was originally married to me. Naturally, I can't let her be a concubine. Thus, I discussed it with Pan. In the future, Miao Yin will be the main wife and Pan will be the concubine." Hearing Zhao Tianlong's words, Zhao Yun looked at Zhao Tianlong with disdain. Her eldest cousin brother was truly a chin shimmy. He could actually do such a thing. Although she didn't like Shen Pan, Zhao Tianlong's behavior made her loathe him even more. What kind of person was this? He had abandoned his first wife after he had made a name for himself. It was said that a wife who had gone through hardships should not be abandoned. No matter what, Shen Pan had married Zhao Tianlong when he was poor and had nothing. For Zhao Tianlong, she was willing to come to the countryside and suffer. Shen Pan's family wasn't bad. A girl like her could definitely marry into a good family. She wouldn't have to come to old Zhao's house and suffer grievances for so many years. However, Zhao Tianlong didn't seem to care about Shen Pan's sacrifice. Zhao Tianlong had just achieved success and he had already done such a thing. As expected, men were all heartless. A person like Zhao Tianlong was willing to abandon his conscience for the sake of fame and fortune. As if he could see the contempt in Zhao Yun'er's eyes, Zhao Tianlong felt ashamed. Eldest cousin brother, congratulations on your success in the capital. When will you bring Pan, sister-in-law, and eldest uncle and aunt over to enjoy life in the capital? Zhao Yun deliberately asked, wanting to see how Zhao Tianlong would answer. She wanted to see how disgusting his cousin was. Zhao Tianlong embarrassedly replied that they're not used to living in the capital. After all, they're not familiar with the place. It's better to stay in Yang City. Fallen leaves return to their roots. When one gets old, they'll eventually return to their hometown. The sarcastic smile on Zhao Yun'er's lips deepened. He was indeed shameless. This reason was quite invincible. If she remembered correctly, before the first branch's family had arrived in the capital, they had been in high spirits. How could they not be used to it? He hadn't stayed in the capital for more than a few days, and for some reason, he went back. Now that he thought about it, it should be Zhao Tianlong who had rushed back. After all, if Zhao Tianlong was willing to abandon his wife, it was not impossible for him to do other things. That. Second cousin, your eldest cousin and I will go back first. Zhao Tianlong couldn't stand Zhao Yun'er's gaze. He felt extremely guilty and wanted to run away with his tail between his legs. Zhao Yun'er did not stop Zhao Tianlong. Instead, she nodded her head in response. After the banquet ended, Zhao Yun'er wanted to wait with Mu Lianfeng for Yili to leave together. However, because Yili was being pestered by Anil, Zhao Yun'er and Mu Lianfeng did not want to disturb him. They could only leave first. Anil stood in front of Yili and looked up to meet Yili's eyes. He questioned Yili, why won't you look at me? We haven't met for so long and you already don't recognize me. Yili calmly replied, I don't recognize you. Anil's mouth twitched even more. He huffed, you don't recognize me. How can you not recognize me? Take a good look at me. Chapter 2460. This guy must be doing this on purpose. Anil refused to believe Yili's words. He clearly wanted to ignore her and distance himself from her, so he said this on purpose. Sob, sob, sob. This really hurt her heart. Anil felt so heartbroken that she found it hard to breathe. Why was it that for the past 6 months, she missed Yili every day, but Yili couldn't even be bothered to look at her? Did he hate her that much? She was clearly the eldest princess that everyone loved. So many people liked her and tried to curry favor with her. In order to marry her, many young masters from the noble families tried to curry favor with her. But she never gave those people a second glance. Now that she was with Yili, the roles had been reversed. This made her feel even more frustrated. Anil bit her lower lip and said angrily to Yili, I'm Anil. How can you be like this? It's only been 6 months and you've already forgotten about me. Why are you looking for me? Yili's attitude was still cold as he asked impatiently. Anil replied with an aggrieved expression, can't I look for you if I don't have anything to say? I have to go back. No. I'm stopping you. I won't let you go back. What are you trying to do? If you have something to say it quickly. Please don't waste my time. Yili urged. He wanted to go back with Zhao Yun'er and Mu Lianfeng, but with Anil blocking his way, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to make it back in time. Anil frowned and asked, why did you reject my imperial brother's reward? Yili took a deep breath and pursed his lips. With a cold expression, he said, I've already said that I want to live an ordinary life and be an ordinary citizen. I don't want to get involved in the matters of the imperial court. Anil's eyes reddened and tears welled up in her eyes. She had never confessed to anyone before. Even though she knew that her true feelings would be trampled on by Yili, she still said, then do you know that I like you? Yili glanced to the side, not really wanting to answer this question. Because he didn't have Anil in his heart, it didn't matter whether Anil liked him or not. Since Yili didn't say anything, Anlu said aggrievedly, "Boo-hoo. You are so heartless. Can't you see that I like you? I am still the great Zhou country's eldest princess, liking you is your honor, why aren't you willing to accept it? Do you know that if you refuse my imperial brother's reward, I won't be able to marry you?" Woo woo woo. The more Anil thought about it, the sadder he felt. This was the first time she had given her heart to a man, but she didn't get any response from him. Why is this so? She didn't think that there was anything wrong with her. Although she was a little willful, she was pretty good in other aspects. She was pretty, had a good figure, and was talented. There were many girls that couldn't compare to her. Not to mention how much Yili liked her, he didn't need to treat her like this, right? Yili's disgust towards her was written all over his face, making her doubt how bad she was. Yili's eyes sunk. Actually, he was also very surprised that Anil was a girl. After knowing young Master Huang's identity, he thought that Anil was just a prince. He never thought that she would be a girl, the great Zhou country's eldest princess. But no matter what Anil's identity was, he didn't like her at all. Chapter 2461. You. Anil angrily pouted. She wanted to vent her anger, but she couldn't do it when faced with Yili's appearance. She really couldn't understand why he liked to say these things to anger her. She was a girl. And the high and mighty eldest princess. She finally put down her face and confessed to Yili, but Yili treated her like this. Anil tightly clenched her fists as she angrily looked at Yili. "You're going too far. I just don't want the eldest princess to give her heart to the wrong person. There are many good men in the world, so you don't need to care about me." Yili replied. In the end, he was still a bit soft-hearted, so his tone was a bit softer this time. No matter what, Anil was a girl. A girl. Her pride was weaker than a boy's. If he hit her too hard, Anil would take it too hard. Anil raised her little face and said, "But what if I like you? Although there are many men in the world, this princess likes you." Yili didn't know how to respond. Thinking about it, he could only kill Anil's fantasy at the source. "I'm not interested in you. It's impossible for me to fall in love with another woman. I already have someone in my heart." Anil pursed her lips and said in an aggrieved voice, I know, you only have Miss Yuner in your heart. But she's already married, has a child, and is the heir consort. There's no chance of you and Miss Yuner. What's the point of thinking about her? Why don't you learn to let go and like another girl?" "I'm sorry, I can't do it." Yili took a deep breath and coldly replied, "If the eldest princess doesn't have anything else, I'll be going back first. I need to rest early." "You." And Lil couldn't continue to persuade Yili to stay. Even if he persuaded her to stay, he still suffered from Yili's cold words, which would only break his heart. Anil had no choice but to let Yili leave first. "Farewell, eldest princess." Yili bowed respectfully, then strode away. His respect for her was a little distant. Sigh, Anil sighed heavily. His chest felt like it had been cut by something. It was so painful that he couldn't breathe. Yili's figure finally disappeared into the night. Zhao Yuner, Mu Lianfeng, and Yili stayed in the capital for another 2 or 3 days. Other than making arrangements for follow-up matters, when he had nothing to do, he would stroll around the streets of the capital. Zhao Yun gained a better understanding of some things in this era. In fact, ancient times were also very prosperous in some aspects. Although it didn't have the high-tech technology of the 21st century, many things were very small and exquisite. The craftsmanship was exquisite. Some things couldn't be made by modern people. There were many skills and culture that slowly disappeared with the development of time. Now that they were in ancient times, Zhao Yuner saw many things. The capital was also the most prosperous place in the Great Zhou country, so she could see many things that Sun City didn't have. After spending 2 or 3 days to settle some things, Zhao Yuner, Mu Lianfeng, and Yili returned to Shuilan village. They hadn't left for long, but there were many children at home. Mu Hin was also pregnant, so Zhao Yuner was afraid that she wouldn't be able to handle it. She couldn't count on the men at home either. After all, there were many things that men didn't know how to do, and there were some things that men couldn't do well. Chapter 2462. As for Zhao Tianan, Zhao Yun remembered that the pot almost exploded. If she asked Zhao Tianan to cook, she was afraid that one day the kitchen would also be burned. She would be much more relieved when she went back. Before leaving, she also specially greeted Mulan and Qian Zhenhua, asking them to go to her house to help when she was not at home. Otherwise, how could Zhao Yun be at ease when she came to the capital for a few days like this? Fortunately, she didn't stay in the capital for long, otherwise she wouldn't know what to do. Yili went back to the village with them this time and didn't plan to continue to live in Zhao Yun's house. Instead, he planned to get a piece of land next to Zhao Yun's house, just like Mulan's house, and then build a house. Having a house of his own would not be too troublesome and would not disturb Zhao Yun's house. In this way, he could be neighbors with Zhao Yun and often take care of each other. Zhao Yun also agreed. Having a house of his own would always be more comfortable and free. Yili now had enough money and could live the rest of his life without worries. The money to build a house was not much. The land and the house cost at most 10 or 20 taels. It shouldn't cost much to add some furniture and then buy other things. The most important thing was that living in the countryside for a lifetime probably wouldn't cost much. Yili's money was indeed enough for him to live a carefree life. In Shuilan village, although there were some weirdos in the village, overall, it was not safe. The carriage traveled for 2 days and finally arrived at Shuilan village. Yili saw some changes in the village and couldn't help but feel a little emotional. He had only been gone for a short time and didn't expect these changes. It could be imagined that if he stayed a little longer, the changes would be even greater. As soon as Zhao Yun arrived home, several children in the family ran out of the house. Several adults in the family also came out. Zhao Yuner was a little curious when she saw that her first and second uncles had actually come over. In fact, Zhao Yun didn't really like Liang Jinqiao's family. However, for the sake of Liang Jinqiao's reputation, it was not good to be too rude. It was already good enough to be polite on the surface. Zhao Yun was wearing the clothes she wore when she entered the palace. Her clothes and hairpin were very luxurious. As soon as she walked down, the women in her uncle's family immediately stared at her. Zhao Yun's delicate and pretty dress made her look a bit like a princess consort. Sighed, the 2 aunts and cousins looked at Zhao Yuner with envy and jealousy. However, he quickly retracted the content in his eyes. When he saw Zhao Yuner, he greeted her warmly. "Ah, Yuner girl is back. TSK, the heir is also back." When he saw Yili, he realized that Yili didn't recognize him. He seemed to have seen him at Zhao Yuner's house before, but he didn't pay much attention to him. Now that he saw Yili, he couldn't help but be curious about Yili's identity. As for Liang Xinzi and Liang Xinyue, their gazes fell on Yili for a moment. Mu Lianfeng was out of their league, and Yili was already married. If Yili was single, they still had a chance. Looking at Yili's appearance, it seemed that he was even better looking than Mu Lianfeng. Even if such a man didn't have any status, they were still happy to be with him based on his appearance. Chapter 2463. This was what it meant to be handsome. If she hadn't met Mu Lianfeng, Xiao Yun couldn't guarantee that she wouldn't fall in love with Yi Li. After all, this man was too outstanding. Whether it was in terms of appearance or personality, he was a rare good man. Of course, the most important thing was that he was infatuated, not promiscuous. If it was a normal good-looking man, he would probably be very promiscuous. Xiao Yun didn't bring a lot of things with her in the carriage. She had bought them in the capital over the past 2 days and specially brought them back as gifts for her family. As for the things rewarded by the emperor, they would be escorted back to Yang City by specialized people. For the country people, the things that Xiao Yun brought back were already very good. Especially some of the pastries. Some of them were rewarded by the emperor. A box of pastries would probably cost a few taels, a dozen taels, or even a few dozen taels of silver. However, Xiao Yun had tasted them before and felt that they tasted really good. They were much better than the pastries she bought before. There were also some fabrics, jewelry, and tonics. For example, Liang Jinxiao had just given birth and had bled a little during childbirth. She had to buy more things to replenish her blood and nourish her body. Xiao Yun had bought a lot of red dates and longans from the capital. She was going to stew some longan and red date soup for Liang Jinxiao to drink. There were also some other small toys that the children liked more. The whole family gathered around Xiao Yun, and one after another, they talked non-stop. Although eldest aunt and second aunt were a little jealous of Xiao Yun's good fortune, they were very tactful in this situation and kept praising Xiao Yun. They even praised Liang Jinxiao's good fortune to be able to give birth to such a capable daughter. Xiao Yun couldn't not take out some of the things that she brought back to entertain them. Thus, she chose a few and entertained the whole family to eat. For the country people who had never eaten pastries before, this was simply a rare thing. One by one, they couldn't wait to come over. Before they finished eating, they were already holding more in their hands. Delicious, delicious, too delicious. Yuner, where did you get these pastries? Why is it so fragrant and delicious? Wu Zhenju asked with a smile. Seeing that there was only one piece left in the box, he quickly picked it up and stuffed it into his mouth. Xiao Yun's mouth twitched. You can't say that country people are uncultured just because they're discriminating against them. But sometimes, it was true. The Liang family gave people the impression that they were very greedy. They didn't know how to be more reserved when eating pastries. It was as if they were all fighting to eat together, afraid that they would eat less than others. Fortunately, she had brought a lot of pastries. Xiao Yuner could give them to her family later. Otherwise, her family probably wouldn't be able to eat more than a few pieces. In response to Wu Zhenju's question, Xiao Yun replied faintly, I didn't buy these pastries. Where did that come from? Yun, you didn't make it yourself, did you? No, this was a gift from His Majesty. If you were to buy this box of pastries, you definitely wouldn't be able to buy it without 20 taels of silver. Wu Zhenju's jaw almost dropped when he heard this. He was a little stunned and almost couldn't regain his senses. Everyone else was also shocked when they heard this. Xiao Yun took out a total of 3 boxes of pastries. This meant that they had eaten 60 taels of silver in one go. Wasn't this a little too terrifying? After all, 60 taels of silver was a huge sum of money to the country people. It was enough to feed their family for a long time. Chapter 2464. Sigh, Wu Zhenju blinked his mouth and couldn't help but lament in his heart. Then, Xiao Yuner said, Yuner lass, isn't this thing too expensive? The few of us ate 60 taels of silver in one go. If you had told us earlier, we probably wouldn't have eaten it. Sigh, how nice would it be if you gave us 60 taels of silver to take back and spend slowly. Although this pastry is delicious, it's still too extravagant. It's such a pity. Wu Zhenju looked distressed as he spoke. She wished she could spit out the pastry in her mouth and ask Xiao Yuner to exchange it for silver so that she could take it back and spend it slowly. Xiao Yuner's mouth twitched. She just couldn't understand. How could some people be so shameless? They took advantage of the situation and still acted like they were innocent. Indeed, people's greed wasn't easy to satisfy. After giving a little, they wanted more. Seeing that Xiao Yuner's expression didn't look too good, Wu Zhenju hurriedly shut his mouth. Guicaixia smiled and said to Wu Zhenju, "Second sister-in-law, look at what you're saying. Yuner was willing to give us such expensive things to eat, which means that she's a good person. Why are you still saying that Yuner did something wrong?" Wu Zhenju hurriedly replied, "Eldest sister-in-law, don't spout nonsense. When did I say that Yuner did something wrong? I just feel that it's such a pity. How could he eat such a precious thing so quickly? It's better to let eldest sister's family eat it and just give us something else to eat. There's no need to use such good things to entertain us." Liang Jinqiao smiled and mediated, "It's fine. Let's eat it since we've eaten it. Anyway, it's something bestowed by the emperor. Everyone can have a taste if they eat it together. There's no way to sell it or exchange it for money. Us country bumpkins probably won't even spend 2 taels of silver to buy a box of pastry, let alone 20 taels of silver. Big sister is right." Guicaixia smiled and agreed with Liang Jinqiao. The Liang family continued to eat. There weren't many pastries left, but after knowing the price, they didn't dare to eat more. Especially when she thought about eating such an expensive thing, even if it wasn't bought with her own money, she still felt very distressed. Xiao Yuner asked curiously, "I wonder what eldest uncle, second uncle, eldest aunt, and second aunt are doing this time. Usually, these people would not come to visit. Once they came, especially those who brought their families, Xiao Yuner felt that something was wrong. She didn't know if the Liang family had found out that she wasn't at home and purposely came over while she was away to take advantage of her. Her parents had soft personalities and were easy to talk to. Taking advantage of her absence, it was not impossible to obtain some benefits. Liang Jinshan smiled and said, "Yuner, we're here to see your grandmother." "Oh right, didn't your mother give birth to a baby? Let's take a look at the baby while we're at it. We haven't seen the baby since he was born. As his uncle and aunt, we should come over and take a look." "That's right. It's not easy for big sister to give birth at this age. We're a family, so we naturally have to come over and take a look." Liang Jinqiao looked very happy. After all, the Liang family and she were family. She liked to be cared for by her family. "The baby and I are doing well. You don't have to worry about me. Mother is doing well here with me too. Her body is stronger than before," Liang Jinqiao said with a smile. "That's right. Looking at mother's condition, I know that she's in good health. Big sister's family took good care of her." Chapter 2465. Ha! Liang Jinqiao laughed even more happily. However, Xiao Yun read something else behind this smile. The Liang family's smiles were too fake. They were flattering her too much. Sigh, even if humans had developed for so many years, why were ancient and modern times the same? There were too many people who fawned over the rich and powerful. Once they had money, they would try their best to curry favor. Previously, when the third branch was poor, the Liang family's attitude was not like this. After a while, the Liang family finally revealed the true purpose of their visit amidst the joyous atmosphere. "That, eldest sister, I heard that the pigs in your pigsty are raised well. Liang Jinhui said with a smile. Previously, when Liang Jinshan and Liang Jinhui helped Zhao Yun's family build a pigsty, they felt that Zhao Yun must have liked to mess around, so she built a pigsty. Where would an ordinary family get so much food to use? If they used the food they bought to raise so many pigs, it was actually not worth it. At least, from their point of view, they probably would not earn much money. When they first found out that Zhao Yun let Liang Jinyu and his wife raise pigs, they did not raise any objections. Who would have thought that Liang Jinyu and his wife would earn a lot of money from raising pigs so quickly? Now, Zhao Yun's pigsty was on a larger scale. If this continued, how much money would they earn? Anyway, they were all relatives. Since his eldest sister's family was bringing Liang Jinyu and his wife to raise pigs to earn money, as uncles, they were closer than aunts. Naturally, they should also bring them to raise pigs. If they did not bring it up now, when they earned more money, it would be harder to get involved, and they would lose a way to earn money for nothing. When Liang Jinhui said this, Liang Jinshan followed behind and said, "Yes, eldest sister, I heard that your family raised pigs well and sold them for a lot of money. These pigs have always been taken care of by youngest sister and brother-in-law, right? It's fine that you raised dozens of pigs previously, but now you're raising even more. Can you handle it?" Liang Jinchao was stunned for a moment. Her big brother and second brother were actually talking about this. She could tell that something was wrong. After pausing for a few seconds, Liang Jinchao pursed his lips and replied, "Yes. Big brother, second brother, little sister and brother-in-law are helping my family raise pigs. They are raising the second batch of pigs and there are quite a lot of them. However, it's really busy now. I've already hired a few helpers from the village to take care of the pigsty with my younger sister and brother-in-law. So even though I'm very busy now, I can still manage." Upon hearing Liang Jinchao's words, Liang Jinshan smiled and said, "That. Big sis, why did you ask an outsider for help? Wouldn't it be great if we, her brothers and sisters-in-law, came over to help? We're a family, and we haven't seen each other yet. Calling an outsider isn't as heart-to-heart as a busy family, don't you think so?" Liang Jinhui also chuckled and said, "That's right, big sister, our Liang family has so many people, why would we need to call for help from outsiders? The pigsty you built is big enough so you can keep more pigs. We can all come over to help, expand the scale, and earn more money together." This, after listening for a long time, Liang Jinchao finally understood what Liang Jinshan and Liang Jinhui meant. It turned out that they were here for this matter. Zhao Yun's lips curled into a sarcastic smile, mocking the Liang family for being too hypocritical. They said that they were here to visit old Madame Liang and her mother, but in fact, they were here to discuss this matter. Chapter 2466. If they didn't take advantage of them, they might suffer hardships. The Liang family would probably hide as far away as possible, so why would they take the initiative to come to their door? Liang Jinchao didn't know how to answer, so he could only smile awkwardly. However, Zhao Yun didn't give her two uncles any face and directly replied, "Eldest uncle, second uncle, there's no need for so many people to raise pigs. Youngest aunt and uncle's husband can do it. As for the outsiders you mentioned, they're just invited to help take care of the pigsty and feed the pigs. They'll be paid 20 to 30 copper coins a day. If eldest uncle and second uncle are willing to do this kind of work and accept 20 to 30 copper coins a day, then you can come to my house to help." After listening to Zhao Yun's words, Liang Jinshan and Liang Jinhui's faces were full of awkwardness. They didn't mean to come over to help. Who would care about a few dozen copper coins a day? Cleaning the pigsty was dirty and tiring, so they might as well earn more money as bricklayers. The purpose of their visit this time was to share the profits that Zhao Yun's family earned from raising pigs with them, just like how they split Liang Jinyu and his wife's This way, they could earn a lot of money with every batch of pigs raised. Otherwise, with a salary of 20 to 30 copper coins a day, they wouldn't be able to earn much money after working hard for a year. Since Xiao Yun said so, if they didn't directly say that this trip was equivalent to a wasted effort, they could only thicken their faces and continue, Yun, alas, we want to help raise pigs just like your youngest aunt and uncle's husband. When you earn money, bring us along to share the money. Your youngest aunt and uncle's husband are relatives, so we're even closer. You can't possibly lead them to get rich and leave us behind, right? After speaking to Zhao Yun, he said to Liang Jinxiao, eldest sister, we're older brothers. Your younger sister is just an outsider of the Liang family who married into another family. As the daughter of the Liang family, you must help your maternal family, right? Liang Jinxiao looked like he was in a difficult position. He lowered his head and said, Big brother, second brother, Yun'er was the one who built the pigsty. Yun'er is the one who makes all the decisions in our family. If Yun'er says it's okay, then it's okay. If Yun'er says no, as her mother, I can't force her. I hope big brother and second brother can understand. Only by pushing all the blame to Zhao Yun'er could Liang Jinxiao resolve the awkwardness. Liang Jinxiao knew that Zhao Yun had a lot of ideas and she definitely knew what to say. Liang Jinshan and Liang Jinhui could only look at Zhao Yun'er. Sigh, how could they be so unlucky to bump into Zhao Yun'er at home today? If Zhao Yun'er was not at home and only Liang Jinxiao was around, this matter would definitely be much easier to discuss. Zhao Yun'er did not feel that it was inappropriate to refuse because of her relatives. Anyway, the Liang family was thick-skinned enough. Even if she rejected these people, she would not feel embarrassed. Thus, she replied in a cold tone, eldest uncle, second uncle, you also know that my family built a pigsty to raise pigs. Under the situation where we didn't know if we could make money, I didn't see you guys offering to help raise pigs. Now that you saw that raising pigs could make money, you kept running over to ask for help. Why should I bring you guys along? Some things are easier to manage when there are fewer people. If there are more people involved, the more chaotic it becomes. So let's forget about this matter. There's nothing much to say. Now that the pigsty is being managed by youngest aunt and youngest uncle, I'm quite relieved. Hearing Zhao Yun'er's words, the Liang family suddenly felt very angry. How could this be? She actually rejected them directly. Chapter 2467. Liang Jinshan was a little unwilling to give up. He continued to argue with Zhao Yun'er with a red neck. Yun'er girl, aren't you obviously biased? What's so good about your aunt and uncle? Do you have to bring them along to earn money? In the face of Liang Jinshuan's shameless questioning, Zhao Yun directly explained the reason. Since you're so curious, then I'll tell you. I let my aunt and uncle raise pigs. First of all, their family is richer than yours. Naturally, I should help them first. Second, my aunt and uncle are both down-to-earth and capable. They can take care of the pigs very well. They work hard every day without complaint. I don't need to supervise them. Third, I'm biased. I like them more. What can you do about it? Although the Liang family was very unhappy when they heard this, there was nothing they could do. They could only refute the second point that Zhao Yun said because they were also down-to-earth and hard-working. How could they refute the remaining 2 points? She had already said clearly that she was biased. No one could do anything about it. After this, the Liang family did not say much. Their faces were gloomy, and they were all in a bad mood. The atmosphere became a little gloomy for a while. Zhao Yun pursed her lips. She could not be bothered to pay attention to these people. Who was she showing her face to? Who would care? Anyway, she would not ask her family to come over to help if she was not busy with the pigsty for a few days. Some things were easier to discuss with outsiders. It was just that between relatives, if they really wanted to take advantage of you, you would not be able to say anything. In the face of benefits, kinship could become very thin. Xiao Yun did not want to be involved in anything else. It was almost lunchtime, and the family started to get busy with lunch. During this period of time, Mu Hin helped to cook Xiao Yun's family's meals. Although Mu Hin was pregnant, after Xiao Yun left, the others could not be busy in the kitchen. She took the initiative to take on some of the chores at home. As for the clothes at home, sometimes Qian Zhuzhe and Mulan would come over to help wash them, and sometimes Xiao Tianan would do it. Now that Xiao Yun was back, Xiao Yun was afraid that Mu Hin's body couldn't do too much work, so she only let Mu Hin take care of the fire. She didn't let Mu Hin do any other work. Even though she was unhappy with the Liang family, Xiao Yun still made a lot of dishes for lunch. Sometimes, when the guests came, she had to keep up appearances. Moreover, the family had not eaten the food she cooked for several days. The children were clamoring for better food, so she naturally had to make a more sumptuous meal. The Liang family members could only remain silent after that. On the other hand, Xiao Yun's two cousins had their eyes fixed on Yili for a long time. The more he looked at Yili, the more handsome he felt. Wasn't this too cool? Not only did Yili have handsome features, but he also had a very strange and attractive aura about him. In addition, Yili was tall and big, so he looked like the kind of man who gave people a sense of security. Compared to those rough men in the countryside, Yili was definitely a man of the highest quality. Liang Xinyue saw that Liang Xinzi was also staring at Yili. She was a little unhappy and said angrily, "What are you looking at? Don't tell me you also like him." Liang Xinzi replied calmly, "What's wrong? Can't I?" Shameless. Liang Xinyue pursed her lips and said to Liang Xinzi. Chapter 2468. Cousin, you're so average looking. He's so pretty, so he definitely won't take a fancy to you, so don't even think about it. You're not as pretty as me, so you still have a chance, Liang Xinyue mocked as she glanced at Liang Xinzi in disdain. Liang Xinzi clenched her fists. She was extremely angry. This cousin of hers was going a little too far. She was always talking about her appearance. Wasn't she just relying on the fact that she was slightly prettier than her? What was the big deal? Liang Xinzi became extremely angry when she saw how smug Liang Xinyue was and how ignorant she was. Cousin, don't you already have a man you like? You've already fallen in love with someone else. Liang Xinzi was referring to Mo Yen. Liang Xinyue had indeed taken a fancy to Mo Yen back then. However, Liang Xinyue had not seen Mo Yen for a very long time. Even if she missed Mo Yen, she knew that she would never have the chance. Since that was the case, what could she do? She could only give up on this idea. After seeing Yili today, Liang Xinyue felt that Yili was no worse than Mo Yen. If she could be with Yili, it would be a very good choice. She did not need to talk about falling in love with someone else. Being able to successfully be with someone was the most important thing. Currently, Liang Xinyue had seen Yili and had the opportunity to come into contact with him, so it was still possible. Liang Xinyue replied angrily in response to Liang Xinzi's mockery, "What's it to you? You're such a busybody." Hee hee. Liang Xinzi sneered as well. She did not care. If a man like Yili could fall in love with Liang Xinyue, he would definitely be blind. Seeing that there was not much firewood left in the kitchen, Yili said to Xiao Yuner, "I'll go to the back and get some firewood." He would get some firewood first. He still had to go into the mountains later to get more firewood. During this time, the men in the family were busy working in the fields. At this time of the year, they were basically planting seedlings. Zhao Yun'er's family had planted a little more food this year, so the men didn't have time to go to the mountains to collect firewood. That was why he didn't notice that he was running out of firewood at home. "Alright, sorry to trouble you," Zhao Yun'er replied with a smile. "It's fine." Yili was in a very good mood. He never felt tired when he helped out. On the contrary, he was very happy. Because being able to make a contribution to Zhao Yun'er, being able to help relieve Zhao Yun'er of a burden, to him, was a kind of happiness. Now, he was not greedy for Zhao Yun'er to be with him. He only hoped that he could do more for this woman. Seeing her happy and blissful made him happy too. Seeing that Yili was heading to the back, Liang Xinyue's heart skipped a beat. She felt that this was a good opportunity, so she quickly got up and eagerly followed Yili. "I'll go help with the firewood too." Yili glanced at Liang Xinyue indifferently. Because Liang Xinyue was Zhao Yun'er's cousin, he couldn't say anything overboard. Actually, he had already felt Liang Xinyue staring at him just now. He was very disgusted and uncomfortable to be stared at like that. Now that Liang Xinyue was eagerly approaching him, how could he not understand what Liang Xinyue was thinking? So he rejected her. "No need. I can go alone." Liang Xinyue persisted. "I'll help. There's strength in numbers. It's easier to get things done." Chapter 2469. Yes, yes. Let's do it together. As Liang Xinyue said that, she mustered up her courage and grabbed Yili's arm. It was because she had not clung onto Mo Yen that she had missed out on this opportunity. Now that she had come across someone suitable, she might miss out on this opportunity again if she did not take the initiative. As long as she worked hard and managed to hook up with Yili, it would all be worth it. Yili was almost disgusted by Liang Xinyue. How could there be such a shameless woman in the world? He had already rejected her, but she stuck to him like a dog's skin plaster. If it were not for the fact that Liang Xinyue was Zhao Yun'er's cousin, he would not have been able to resist the urge to lay his hands on her. Although he did not really like to bully women, he really did not mind hitting them if they crossed the line. He would not be willing to stick to his principles once he had been forced to a certain extent. However, before Yili could push Liang Xinyue away, a figure suddenly darted over. He grabbed Liang Xinyue and stood between Yili and Liang Xinyue. "What are you doing? You're a girl who doesn't even know shame and clings onto a man. Is this how your parents taught you? Look at how eager you are. You must have seduced quite a few men." Yili was extremely familiar with the voice of the person who spoke. Yili looked to the side and saw Anil as expected. She was still dressed as a man. He had no idea why she had come to Shuilan village as well. Liang Xinyue was a girl after all. Even though she was a little shameless, her ears still reddened when someone said that. Liang Xinyue looked at Anil and discovered that Anil was an extremely fair man. He wore embroidered clothes and gave off a sense of nobility. She could tell with a single glance that he was not a simple person. She thought that Zhao Yun'er really knew a lot of rich and good-looking men. It was probably because of Mu Lianfeng's identity as the heir that she knew so many men from rich families. Zhao Yun'er just happened to be a bad person. She had married well, rising up from the mountains to become a phoenix. However, she had never thought about introducing good men to Liang Xinzi. Any random man she introduced would definitely be better than the rough men from the countryside. Liang Xinzi heard Anil's words and felt extremely happy. She couldn't stand Liang Xinyue's shameless behavior. Before she could say anything, she was caught by another person and scolded Liang Xinyue. Seeing Liang Xinzi laughing loudly, Liang Xinyue glared at Liang Xinzi with a gloomy face. "Anil, what are you laughing at?" Liang Xinzi bluntly replied, "Ha, cousin, don't you know what you've done?" Do you even need to ask me? Indeed, some people not only don't know shame, they don't even know their place. When we get back, I'll let second uncle and second aunt educate you properly. Otherwise, you'll definitely come out and embarrass our Liang family again. Chapter 2470. Liang Xinzi laughed even louder. Seeing Liang Xinyue being humiliated made her feel even better. Liang Xinyue could no longer face Yi Li and Anil shamelessly. She ran back into the house in shame. Yi Li's mouth twitched. Then he turned around to continue preparing the firewood. Anil quickly caught up with Yi Li and shouted, "Yi Li, wait for me." Yi Li did not stop walking. Instead, he replied calmly, "Don't follow me." Anil pouted stubbornly, "No. I want to follow you." "Yes, yes, yes." Faced with such a stubborn Anil, Yi Li could only keep quiet and continue walking. When Anil saw that Yi Li was ignoring her, she became a little anxious. She felt very upset that he was not talking to her. Anil angrily blocked Yi Li's way and said pitifully, "Yi Li, why are you acting like you're keeping me at arm's length? Do you really hate me that much? Don't you care about me at all? We don't know each other well." Yi Li said calmly. Because they didn't know each other well, they couldn't even be considered friends. Friends might care about each other. Only strangers would be treated with complete disregard. After hearing Yi Li's words, Anil felt like a needle had pierced her heart. She didn't understand why Yi Li had to say such hurtful words. Anil tried hard to calm the pain in her heart. She pursed her lips and stared at Yi Li with her gem-like eyes. She smiled and chuckled, "Yi Li, why don't you ask me why I'm here again? Aren't you even a little bit curious?" Yi Li was silent for a moment. He did have some doubts in his heart, but he didn't want to ask. He roughly knew why Anil was here. She was definitely here for him. But how could a high and mighty princess like Anil escape from the palace and run to Shui Lan village? He didn't know the details. Of course, he didn't want to know either. Because he didn't want to have anything to do with Anil, he naturally didn't want to care about her or understand her too much. Anil endured the pain in her heart and said, "Yi Li, I'm doing this for you. I like you too much. That's why I want to follow you wherever you go. You rejected my brother's reward. Mother didn't agree to me marrying you, so I could only run away. Even if I knew that I had given up everything just to be with you, you would still reject me. I still ran out. As long as I can see you every day, it doesn't matter if we aren't together, protecting you is actually a kind of happiness." Anil felt like she had been possessed. She was the great Zhou country's princess and had seen many outstanding men, but she was still captivated by Yi Li. She even threw away her pride and said these words to Yi Li. Anil didn't dare believe that she said these words. After all, she was once a high and mighty little princess. She was used to being arrogant, but one day she lowered her head for a man, lowering herself to this extent. Yi Li heard Anil's words and his heart felt uncomfortable. He never thought that Anil's feelings for him would be this deep. But he didn't have any feelings for Anil. Chapter 2471. Yi Li softly said, "I thank the eldest princess for her love, but I hope that the eldest princess won't waste time on me. Sometimes, the more you put in, the more disappointed you would be when you didn't receive anything in return." Yi Li didn't think he was a bad person, so he didn't hate Anil that much right now. So he didn't want Anil to waste time on him and be hurt, which would lead to a terrifying ending. Anil rubbed her nose and willfully said, "No, I just want to stick to you. Even if you don't like me, I still want to stick to you. Whether it's a waste of time or not, that's up to me. Yi Li, let me tell you, the things this princess likes will definitely be obtained. The man I like will be chased down one day. Just you wait. Annel's face was filled with determination. Anyway, she had set her mind on Yili in this life. She didn't like other men and didn't like them at all. Rather than this, it was better to keep guarding Yili. As long as she persevered, perhaps there would be hope. It wasn't easy for her to leave the palace this time. According to her mother's intentions, Yili didn't know how to appreciate kindness, so she didn't need to think about this man. She was even afraid that she would run away, so she arranged for people to watch her. She could only stay in her own palace and couldn't move around as she pleased. It was because of her royal brother's arrangements that she had the chance to come out, rushing all the way to Water Mist Village. According to her royal brother's intentions, if she could chase down Yili and make Yili willing to return to the court as an official, he would agree to them being together. After all, the emperor didn't want to waste a talent like Yili and hoped that Yili could continue to serve the court. But the emperor knew that forcefully picked melons weren't sweet. Yili didn't care about the court and just wanted to be a normal person, living a normal life. If he didn't agree and insisted on letting Yili continue to serve in the court, Yili wouldn't do his best to help him like before. He only kept the person, but he didn't keep the heart. But if Yili was pursued by Annel and truly liked Annel, he would be the great Zhou country's prince consort in the future. With this relationship, it was only natural that Yili would work for the emperor and the imperial court. If it weren't for the fact that the emperor appreciated Yili's talent, he wouldn't have made such a decision. After Annel left the palace, he eagerly followed her. It wasn't easy for her to get the emperor's permission, so how could she be willing to give it up? Yili frowned slightly. He didn't know what to say. She could only stop talking and let Annel go. How could his heart be so easily occupied by another woman? Back then, Xiao Yun'er was able to enter his heart when he was at his most helpless. At that time, Xiao Yun'er was like a warm light that shined into his heart, allowing him to feel warmth. After picking up the firewood, Yili carried it into Xiao Yun'er's kitchen. Annel also picked up some branches behind him. Xiao Yun'er finally saw Annel. Ah! Eldest princess. Why are you also here? Xiao Yun'er asked in a surprised voice. Because she was in a rush last time in the capital, she didn't have time to meet with Annel. She never thought that Annel would follow them back to Water Mist Village today. Annel awkwardly scratched her head. Miss Yun'er, you know my identity. I also went to the banquet that day, so naturally I know. I thought you were a prince before, but I never thought you would be a princess. Chapter 2472. Annel felt even more embarrassed. She lowered her head and said shyly, Miss Yun'er, I didn't mean to hide it from you. It's just that sometimes it's safer for a girl to dress up as a man when she's outside. Xiao Yun'er nodded in agreement. Princess Royal is right. It's a good thing for a girl to dress up as a man when she's outside. After all, not everyone in this world is a good person. Once you meet a bad person or something terrible happens, it'll be too late to regret it. Hearing Xiao Yun'er's words, Li's mood became a lot better. Miss Yun'er, I thought you would blame me for hiding this matter from you. You actually didn't care about it with me. You are really a good person. Xiao Yun'er was amused by Annel's cute appearance. Why would I be angry? It's not a big deal. It's fine as long as you didn't do anything to hurt anyone. Hee hee. Annel grinned as if she was very happy. Xiao Yun'er had a good impression of Annel. This girl had been well protected since she was young. She had a pure mind and was much better than those scheming young ladies. She got along well with this kind of person. Princess Royal still hasn't told me why you came to my house again. Annel froze and then smiled embarrassedly. Miss Yun'er, do you think I'm too troublesome and don't want me to come over? I'll pay for your room and food this time. Also, if you have any work to do, feel free to ask me. I won't trouble you too much. Zhao Yuner quickly waved her hand. No, no, no. That's not what I meant. I'm just curious. Miss Yuner, I don't need to be embarrassed in front of you. Actually, I like Yili and want to be with him. It would be best if he could accept me. Even if he doesn't, I'll be happy as long as I can see him every day. Anil said shyly as her cheeks turned red. Zhao Yuner patted her head. She was so stupid. She was obviously here for Yili. Did she even need to ask? Then stay here. Yili is such a tall and handsome man. He is indeed very likable. The eldest princess really has good taste to be able to take a fancy to him. Anil smiled shyly. Right. Miss Yuner thinks he's not bad. Yes. You look so good together with the eldest princess. You're a perfect match, a match made in heaven. Hearing Zhao Yuner's words, Anil felt comfortable all over. Originally, Yili liked Zhao Yuner, so Zhao Yuner was her love rival. But towards this love rival, Anil couldn't bring up any hostility. Instead, she liked her very much. When she lived with the third branch, Zhao Yuner and her family didn't know her identity. Instead, they took good care of her. They were all very good people. Of course she liked Zhao Yuner and Zhao Yuner's family. It's a pity that Yili doesn't like me. He seems to hate me a bit. Thinking of this, and Li's originally high spirits were dampened. His face drooped, as if he was very sad. Zhao Yuner patted Anil's shoulder and comforted her, don't worry. There's a mountain between a man chasing a woman and a woman chasing a man. As long as the eldest princess works hard, I think there's a big chance. Chapter 2473. Hearing Zhao Yuner's words, Anil's face was filled with disappointment again. Anil gave a heavy sigh and silently complained, I've clearly been with Yili for a while. Why isn't Yili familiar with me? He's not slow at all. Or is Yili purposely ignoring me? He's just not familiar with me. Anil felt more and more hurt the more she spoke. If Yili was purposely distancing himself from her and ignoring her, then the situation would be more serious. It meant that Yili didn't want to interact with her. Zhao Yuner gave an awkward cough and comforted her, that eldest princess, Yili ignored you because he thought you were a man. You also know. It's strange for men to be too intimate with each other. You were too passionate back then. He knows you like him. But he's a normal man, how could he accept being with you? Now he knows you're a woman. The grudge in his heart can't be let go for now, but it will slowly disappear. Don't be anxious, I believe that as long as you stay with him and move him, there will be a day when his heart will soften. Anil finally understood why Yili was so against her. So it was because of this matter. He thought she was a man before, so he rejected her. For people who weren't into men, they rejected homosexuals. But why was he still so cold towards her now? It should be because his attitude from before hadn't changed and he still had a grudge against her. But like Zhao Yuner said, she had to wait a bit longer. As time passed, the barrier between her and Yili would slowly disappear and perhaps Yili would accept her. Comforting herself like this, Anil's heart was filled with hope. If she wanted to be with Yili, then she had to be firm and walk down this path. She was the great Zhou country's eldest princess, she had never easily given up on anything. Anil gave a strong nod and said to Zhao Yuner, I understand. Miss Yuner, thank you. I will definitely persevere. Zhao Yuner's words had a large effect on her morale, so she felt much better now. Good luck. Zhao Yuner cheered Anil on again. If such a cute and pure girl was with Yili, it would be a very good choice. Zhao Yuner couldn't help feeling a bit of expectation. Because she knew that there was no chance of being with Yili in this life. However, as a friend, Zhao Yuner didn't want Yili to be alone for the rest of his life. She hoped that there would be a kind and a cute girl by his side. At the very least, two people could accompany each other and support each other. It was better than one person being all alone. Among the girls she came in contact with, Anil was considered a very good girl. It wasn't because of anything else, she just purely liked Yili and wanted to be with him. After eating lunch, Zhao Yuner sent the Liang family back. The following days were very peaceful. Mu Lianfeng and Yili were both back, so Zhao Yuner didn't need to worry about their safety at the border. Adding in the fact that everything was on the right track, the days were very peaceful and there was still hope. Mu Lianfeng had made a great contribution to the court and the emperor had given him many tasks, but he had rejected them all. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.